Last week, it was all from last week. I didn't do any changes.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of East
Yes.
Hampton Architecture Review Board meeting of July 26, 2018. Has anybody had an opportunity to take a look at the minutes from June 28th?
I sent them all.
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
good.
and everything
Okay,
looked fine.
Good. We have a motion to approve?
Yes,
Motion. Second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
We also had the minutes from the previous one that I did get to look at also, which we didn't talk about.
It's not on the agenda. We have to add it to the next agenda. Not a problem.
Okay.
Thank you. For business sign for Cell Pros Montauk, DCB Elmwood LLC, tax map number 300-50-1-11. Anybody here for the applicant? Okay, Betsy?
Okay, so this is the Zoom Schneider Building at 4 South Elmwood Avenue. And they are also on the agenda for change to commercial with a paint color change from what it used to be, which was, I'll just show you this just to remind you, it was the beer hall on the corner when you first pull, past IGA. In any event, the business sign that they're proposing is lettering atop the, can you see it? It measures approximately 47 by 28 inches, which is approximately 9.1 square feet. I think it's understated. It's fine. I don't have any problem
Want to make
with
a motion to that effect?
So I'm going to make a motion that we're approving the new Cell Pros sign at 4 South Elmwood Avenue.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And for a change to commercial also?
Yes.
Make a motion on that?
Yes,
Do
I'd
you
like
have
to
a
make a
question?
motion that they have put in an application. This is the photograph that I took the other day. The signage isn't up yet, but it is painted, and it will be a cloud white Benjamin Moore color, and I think that it looks fine, and I'd like to make a motion to approve the application for the change to color in cloud white.
We have a second?
Second that, too.
All in favor?
Aye. I think it's a big improvement.
It's a
Yes,
terrific
may I have
improvement.
that for my... Thank you.
You want to put that back in the file
Yep.
now? Hold it 1 second.
Oh, and this is the silo.
Yeah. Familiar.
And
Take time.
two.
Great. Just to qualify that, that is tax map number 300-50-1-11 on the change to commercial as well. For CBP Family LLC, care of Ocean Graphics, tax map number 300-119-5-8.4. Hi,
How are you?
and you are?
Will McLear, Ocean Graphics.
Thank you, Diane.
Will. There was a violation, and this application is to replace the violation
Correct.
sign, directory sign, with this new sign, which has not been fabricated yet, am I correct?
Correct.
To me, it looks like it's more discreet, which I assume was the violation
Yes.
problem.
Yeah, it's smaller. The
It's
previous
smaller.
directories that are there now are a lot larger.
Yeah, much larger.
What are the dimensions?
The dimensions are,
The current ones, I'm not sure, but these ones are 36 by 6 each board.
I'm just a little confused. You have a violation, but it's not there?
I'm not even sure it's on your property.
Well, this was, I'm not sure, they took it upon themselves to install this sign and had it fabricated, and then they hired us to come and make one that's compliant.
Well, we
So-
need to know that it's on your property. Diane, do you have the survey?
Is there
there?
a survey?
yes.
So it was built and put up. I'm just trying to understand this.
The property owner had it made and put in themselves.
Put it up.
Correct.
Okay, and then you've got a violation, so you took it down?
Correct.
It's still there, and we're replacing it with this one.
Okay,
Right.
and how much smaller is it than what was there?
I think it's almost half the size.
It seemed much smaller.
Yeah, the current one's probably almost 10 feet tall. This one's about 7.
7 feet.
Yeah.
Okay,
And how tall is the other sign, isn't there another group of signs on that property? Or is that the only
No, that's-
directory sign?
Yeah, there's that and there's one for the one-stop.
according to
Yeah.
the information I have that I've seen on this survey, it's off the property.
Okay, the current one, right.
The current one or any sign.
Already signed, right.
Okay. What we need to know is
This
where
is the
that sign is
existing.
going to go.
Is this where it's
Yeah, let me take a look at that.
proposed?
This is the
Right now it is
existing
here.
sign?
Yeah.
It's there.
Or here?
It's there.
Or I guess it's here, right,
Yeah.
right. So the proposed would be, I guess, further back.
Well, what's
Or
this sign?
there's some sign here, I don't know what that is. That's another one that one of the tenants took upon themselves to throw up. I think it's just like, two 2x4s and a hand-painted sign.
Is it there right now?
I believe so, I'm not sure.
If it's on the survey, it
Did you
probably
take any
is.
pictures of the property just by itself?
Yes, but she doesn't seem to have any of my pictures.
Okay.
Yeah, what I think
You
in
need
this
to
sign,
put
I
them
believe there were two posts
before
that
the
were left
meeting.
from an old sign that was
I
on the
never
survey,
knew that.
and they just added a face to it.
Okay.
Do you want him to mark on
I
here
sure
where
do.
the sign is?
But he
going?
doesn't know. I mean, we can't guess, and we can't
Right.
just assume. So
Sure.
you need to go back to them. You need to locate on this, what's the date on this? This is current. So have this updated, indicating where this sign is going to go. If there's any other existing signage that's on the property, either have them make application or remove.
Right, I think the idea was just to push it back, just so it was right on the edge of the line
That
there.
may be the idea, but we need to know.
Sure, okay.
Okay. All right, any questions?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, so the one-stop signage there, is
Yes.
that the new sign that they're in front of us for, or is it there?
No, that's a different, whole different property there.
I know, but is it, it's there, there's a sign there.
Yeah, there's a sign
Do you
there.
know approximately how tall that sign is?
Oh, the current one that's there,
Yes.
that's probably about 6 feet or so.
Okay, and this one is about 7?
7,
Yeah, it seemed to be in keeping with the sign on the other
Do we want
side
to
of the center.
suggest 6? Okay,
Yeah, I think there were more tenants
There are.
on this side, so,
okay.
Okay,
Right,
so
that's
we're going to
existing.
table this, Will.
okay.
All right, and bring it back to us for the next meeting with either an updated survey or
Sure.
some way to indicate and that we can be convinced that it's going to be on your property.
Sure thing. This is the first I'm hearing that it was actually off the property.
Did you change your sign in Springs Fireplace?
We just put a banner over it for now, 'cause I'm a
Oh,
second
that's what
office.
it is.
Yeah,
I saw it, because you can't read it.
I know.
Okay. All right, are you up for another one?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
So, can I understand better so that we are now to pick up our pictures?
At the last meeting?
This was discussed at the last meeting, and then the memo went out.
We did?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Okay, well, from here on in, just notice that will be out, just pick up your photographs. And we have
I have no
documentation.
photographs, so.
Not a problem. Okay, for fences, walls, and burns for Donald Becker, care of ARCA 1 LLC, tax map number 300-184-5-58. Who is assigned this?
And
I am.
Good. This is not marked on good. Hi, and
it's the
you are?
last page.
Norma Becker.
And?
Donald Becker, we own the
Hello.
home.
Great. Edwin?
Okay, this is for a deer fence with wood posts, metal fencing, and no stain. 8 feet high, total length of 525 feet. Now, I assume that after we discuss the scenic easement in the back, maybe it'll be a little shorter,
Yeah, it's actually 450.
450?
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually 450 because the previous request was around the easement,
Right.
and now we took the
Can't
easement.
do that.
We're just following the line.
Maybe you'll mark that for us and initial it on the survey that we have.
I believe it's.
It's marked.
In the resubmission, I think you showed that.
Oh, yeah, so-
If not, we can certainly do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay, sure.
He has it.
Steve, my guess.
Do you want us to draw the line as well?
Yes, I do.
Sure.
Okay, and then I'd like to do
At
an
the
easement.
easement, is that right?
Yeah,
Or
Well,
the
you
whole
can't,
thing?
you can't be on the easement.
We're right here.
yeah.
Just inside it,
That's fine.
Actually,
right closer to the house?
Actually, it's flagged.
Is that where you marked it?
No, it's not. That was the original submission. But thank you.
And then.
Actually, the front of that easement is flagged by the surveyor, so you should be able to find it very easily.
Yes, so we
Yes.
just had it recently
be sure.
flagged again, so that it's all set for, East Hampton Fence to come in and do a proper
Basically follow the post.
fencing on the post. So,
And you said
so
the
it's where the
initial,
black, so right here where the black line is, for, 8 foot.
Do that. I'll take my pen.
that's how they disappear.
I kinda like that pen.
Yeah, me too. All right, there are no other fences on the property.
No? No fences at all.
May I see the?
Yes, you may. Any other questions come to mind, Edwin?
What are you gonna use for gates?
I think we submitted,
Actually, I have some pictures.
Is the gate on the application?
I think
No,
so.
it doesn't say.
On the
It just says
revised-
deer fence, that's all.
No,
This is what we submitted as part of the revised, I'm sorry, the quality's not better, but on one side we have a double.
When did you submit that?
last week.
Prior to this meeting, for this meeting, so a week and a half ago?
Edwin has it.
There it is.
Okay, well, I don't have it.
So on the one side, it's a double.
Okay, we need to make sure we communicate on any submissions that come in after the fact. It's really important.
These would be pedestrian gates, not vehicular gates.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah, the fence goes into the house rather than out. The other thing, though, it does say on here, it says something about an arbor.
That's this one, sir.
Okay, how high is that going to be?
It tops out at 8,
Facing the street,
Yes.
facing the street.
not going to be 8 feet.
What are the limitation, that was 6 foot and then 8 foot,
Where,
right?
where is the arbor? Show me on the
Sure.
survey.
This is the
Let me get my
original.
bearings here. That's on this side. The double is on this side,
Right.
and the arbor would be here, sir.
We're going to stop the discussion on it because on your application, you only have to do the fence. You don't have a gate.
This was
We
our
sent-
submission.
No, this is the application. This is your application.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's silent on that.
I'm sorry, we submitted one application earlier, when last time our daughter came here on our behalf, and she was asked to submit the pictures of what it would be.
We need an
Our-
application.
No,
The
the
second
application
application.
was,
Well, if you're applying for the gate, yes, because this is only a request of the fence.
we submitted in our application, I think
Is
on
there a
that one.
note on that?
Yes, there's a
We
note.
make reference
There's
to
a-
it.
They did.
Yes, there are
Where?
gates, right here.
Because we had intended
There are
that from the start.
gates, and the paperwork for the gates was attached.
Did we?
The only thing that,
I have it right here.
The gate?
yeah, it says pool fence and
Nothing's
gates.
actually there, too.
And the only thing that we were missing were the pictures.
Actually, it doesn't say gate on the application, that's the only.
No,
No,
I
it doesn't.
understand, but the black and
This
white
says-
that you
It
have.
says gates on
You've
it.
got it now.
No, I don't. Who has the one that,
This
if you
was
see
the-
right here, see, look it. They added it right there. No?
Okay, I'd like to take a 5-minute recess.
Would you please note that, okay?
I gotta get out of here. What we've decided to do is to add the one pedestrian gate, which is the wooden gates here. And we'll have a discussion on the second gate, which is at 8 feet, which is not pictured here. It is
Makes it easier.
The
It's there somewhere, but
Yes,
arbor.
the arbor itself. So what would you like to do with this?
I think where it's located, right, on the left side of the house, facing the house. If I
this is the
understand
arbor, this is the
correctly,
double. I'm sorry, yes.
over on
Correct.
this side, I think it's far enough back, right? It's not, right, it's beyond the front yard.
Where is the location of this house? What part of town?
Over in Hanson Hills.
Hanson Hills?
Up like,
Well,
where's
it's off
Hanson
of
Hills?
114, it's just south of Stephen Hines.
Yeah, like
In
right
between
off of Main and, what's the other one?
Well, it's between Stephen Hansen and 114, so we're right in between.
How far back is it about?
Well,
20 feet?
it's back from the front line of the house.
Yeah.
I agree with Peter.
And I think there's enough foliage that it should
Are
not
we
be
allowed
an
to
issue.
approve that though?
It's facing the street. It's fronting a street, correct? Jameson, you want to just take a quick peek?
How tall is the other gate that we're okay with?
This is the other 6, is that correct?
Yeah, but they're, like, within that, within our cul-de-sac and everywhere else, their fence is at the street.
We're discussing your
No,
project.
no, I'm just saying, like, this one is
Not
like
a problem.
way back.
That's okay, this one's okay.
Right, because I think the definition of the front yard would be from this forward.
Right, so this is the yard fronting the public way,
But
but
is
this is
an
a
arbor a
side
gate?
yard, if it's this far back from the house. Yep,
Or is it a
that's,
structure?
and this is the survey,
It is a
this is the
structure.
new one, right?
But in the
Let's
code,
make sure
does it say gates and structures facing the front?
Okay, there's no gate in the arbor. It is just an arbor, correct?
No, it's
No,
not.
there's a gate.
There's a gate you enter
And
through.
the height of the gate is,
Height of the gate is 6, and the arbor is 8 at its height, at its top.
okay.
I
We're
think
not
it-
the building department.
I think it qualifies, right, as not being the front yard. I think it's the side yard,
Okay, good.
so that we could approve it at 8 feet.
But
So-
Jameson, I just have a question real quick. Is an arbor considered a gate or is it a structure? And in the code, does it say gate and structure facing front-facing street can't be higher than 6? I'm just curious of the technical term of an arbor.
Well, the code is no fence or wall located on a residential property in a yard fronting on a public street. This is set back from the front of the house line,
Right.
so now we're in the side
But
yard
it's not a
territory.
fence and a wall, no?
I think that, but if the arbor is, it's attached to the gate, we would probably apply the same standard
Okay,
of, it's one it's one structure.
okay.
You couldn't
Does
measure
it come under the
arbor-
building department or under ARB purview?
Well, both. I mean, you need a
Okay.
building permit for an,
All right, why don't we amend the application to include a description of each gate? So I'll give you an opportunity to be able to
Thank you.
write in the height and material of the first gate, describe that.
Actually, may I, if I just take that back?
Yeah, sure, that's great.
I appreciate it. I think
Right off
this-
of that, that's fine.
Gates will be 6 feet from the ground, pillars also reaching 6 from the ground, arbor arch will start at the 6-foot point. And it doesn't actually say that, the fabric material.
Cedar.
It's cedar. How would you like us, we're right,
Just like you said.
I mean, on this page?
Right on that form.
Right on this page.
No, no,
No, on this
on
one.
this
Sorry.
one,
On this one.
Okay.
so that it's actually on your
Got it.
application.
Cedar, gate, and arbor, which is correct. And what else?
The height.
The height.
Right, yeah.
The
So
height,
it's a six
got it, I
foot
understand.
from the ground, and then the other one is 6 foot from the ground and 8 foot.
6 feet.
And 8 foot arbor.
Arbor, topping, arbor.
Yes, and arbor topping out.
Good.
And was there something you wanted to write on the other side as well? or was it just
Cedar,
these? The arbor is
cedar
the issue.
gate.
I
Yeah,
just
cedar gate,
need
6
both
foot.
gates, that's all.
Cedar gate. I'm sorry.
Got it.
It's like one cedar gate, one cedar gate.
Okay, all right.
6 foot
One pedestrian, one lawnmower.
arbor.
Right, that's even better.
There you go.
Yeah,
So one and this is two?
yeah.
Okay, give me an initial on it.
You bet.
Yeah. Diane, would you like to make a motion to this effect?
Give it back to you, sir.
No, it's
Oh, wait a
Edwin.
minute.
Edwin, I'm sorry.
I move that we approve the fence as discussed and the description of the 2 gates and the 1 arbor, which is included on the application.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And the fence is 8 feet, correct?
The fence is it.
Correct.
Do you need those?
Yes.
Yes,
I want those.
please.
You want to?
And we'll get out of the way.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
To Joseph Scalia, Eminent Real Estate Holdings, tax map number 30176-1-8. Good, thank you. And you are?
Joseph Scalia.
Hello, Joseph. Diane.
Yes, this application is for something unique. The ZBA and the planning board have approved this black wall here that's covered by this greenery to house a septic system, which is in keeping with all the codes, et cetera, of the septic system. And the fence on top of it surrounds a pool and is the 4-foot mandatory fence. And this is 4 feet, is a proper 4 feet, and the rest of the property is all 4 feet fence. But this 4 foot, because it's on top of this septic wall, is 88 inches. But you know, it's a very interesting property. The entire property inside is sand. There's no grass, there's no dirt, the swimming pool is set in sand, the house is set in sand, everything is in sand. And it's a very beachy neighborhood. And I think it's irregular, but it's, and then it's necessary because of the pool regulation fence.
All right, well, let me help you with this.
Yes.
Jameson, code on a wall to build a fence, the maximum height therefore is.
Well, it depends on where it's located.
Correct.
But this is measured wall plus fence for the entire height.
Correct.
The issue here would be, it's on a, right in a yard fronting a public way.
Yes.
Which we cannot approve if it's over 6 feet.
Because what is it, 7'2"?
7.3.
Right, so irrespective of the fact that it's a 4-foot wall, which is opaque and facing, it's a wall. It is facing the street.
Yes.
So there are certain ways that you can ameliorate that. You can bring it down to 2 feet. Is this already built?
Yes.
Yes, it's very well built. And it's, the wall varies from 37 to 39 inches in height.
Okay. We can't approve by code 4 feet on top of a 4-foot wall. So we're kind of stuck on this, and so are you. So we're going to have to try and figure out
Sure.
how to work this out.
May I also, I did show this to the building inspector to confirm that your pool enclosure would be code compliant. They do consider the wall as part of your 48 inches.
Really?
It-
So this is the interesting part.
But it's not the full, it's not 4 feet, the wall is not 4 feet.
Right, so the wall measures from 37 to 39 inches. If I add another foot to it to get to the 4-foot mark.
You're good.
But a child could walk on top of that wall
Absolutely.
and then drown. And the CDC states that children aged 1 to 4, the number 1 cause of unintentional death is drowning. So as a
Okay.
public safety issue,
appreciate
No, I totally understand. I only showed the building inspector the photograph. They would obviously go out and inspect, and one of
Right.
the things that they look for is where on the wall is the gate. If the gate is flush with the front of the wall, then I'm not, then I'm, maybe your concern
Right.
about having a material to climb up would be remedied.
Okay.
They do, if, for example, the gate was set back and there was a step,
the
that
fence.
would not, if the fence was set back off the wall, excuse me, then that would not be code compliant.
Why did you
So
build it without coming to the ARB? I
I was
mean,
unaware that I was required to come to the ARB, and I was following
answer.
the building
That's a shame.
regulation, building department's regulations
Right.
over 4-foot fence.
And I think he probably felt like he was getting so many approvals. He had the FEMA approval, the New York septic approval, he had isn't there a
ZBA.
ZBA and a planning board approval of the wall?
So we're the
I
bad
think
guys
that-
and we're the one that
Well, I'm
has
just
to read
like,
you the
well,
code.
it's two issues.
Yeah.
It's public safety and architecturally
Yeah.
pleasing, right?
No, it's not a question of pleasing, it's in the code.
So,
Okay. So how can we remedy this?
How would you like to?
Well, I could put the fence in, this is the issue. If I put the fence in front of the wall, right? I take the fence down, I put it on the ground level in front of the wall. It is a 4-foot fence from the street,
And
But
you're
it-
fine, and you don't need to be
Pre-existing
here.
grade.
but then existing grade. But on the opposite side, that fence is only 1 foot tall.
Right.
Is that meet code? Because I understand the code states it has to be 4 foot on either side.
Now, what if you put the fence on the other side of the wall where there's a grade, right, up to the pool?
Yeah.
Somewhat of a grade?
How far back from the wall can the fence
It
be?
doesn't so state in the code.
So if I move it
Believe it
back
or
a
not.
foot,
If you moved it back a foot, you'd be compliant.
it's a foot behind the wall currently as it stands.
Oh,
It's
it is
a foot behind the wall?
Yeah.
oh, so it's not the,
No,
It
it
is
looks
not
like
flush.
sitting on the wall?
No, so it's sitting behind the wall
on the sand.
on the sand. It is not on the bluestone. So the bluestone is 12 inches wide, and this fence sits directly behind the bluestone.
Okay.
Well, now, I took some more pictures, and I took them from inside the property. Maybe we have them on.
Good. I can look also if you want.
Yeah.
Let's just
I
wait
thought that
for,
this was 4-foot fence on top of a wall, so it's not, it's just a 7-foot, 3-inch fence behind a wall?
I don't quite
Here's a picture
understand.
of the bluestone with the wall, with the bluestone, and then the fence.
May I see?
Of course.
From this photograph.
So you have a ledge.
this-
hold it.
Okay.
From this photograph, could you show me where the wall is?
Right here. It looks two-dimensional here. It's very hard to see, but from this photograph, you can see the wall is here,
Here's a
and then
photograph
here
from the
is
inside.
here is the top of the wall, which I did in a bluestone, and then the fence is behind it on the sand. So my understanding from what the chairman said, 1 foot would qualify.
It's not identified in the code.
Great,
How far back?
that's good for me.
Yeah, kind of.
I'm looking for the safety.
No, I
Yeah,
understand.
so can someone climb up and right here?
Yes. So I could climb up there, or a child, not a 1-year-old, but
Yeah. This is
could
the
climb up
inside
there,
property.
and then that's why I needed the 4 feet, to prevent a child from because it's not,
So there's a flat surface
there's a
here.
flat surface there.
So
that flat surface.
can't you move it this way so it's flush like this?
But then
Oh, I
it's a
see.
7-foot wall, and I don't qualify.
Right.
And then I'm worried about the other side. Because I
Well,
think the
unless
wall
you're
might
saying
stop.
that this is already removed back from this wall, because I
Yeah.
measured it right here.
Right.
I measured those 88 inches, and if this wall were not on top, if this fence were not
Right
on
here.
top of that wall,
Got a wooden fence here.
that's not the top of the wall?
This is the top of the wall.
Right, and the fence is right on top of it.
Behind it. If this is the front of the wall,
Oh, this is the front.
if this is the
That's the
front,
front.
this is the front of the wall here, the bluestone is 12 to 14 inches back, and then
The
sits-
bluestone of the wall.
Of the wall.
Of the septic system.
Yes.
And, okay, well,
We have
I don't
more, we have
We
a
have a
little
bigger
bad news.
problem. Possibly.
Then I'm not gonna
You-
give
you've
my
looked at
suggestion.
The survey, you know the survey? The survey is from November of 2016. Now, it's updated on February 6th of 2017. Can you identify where your wall is?
This survey does not have the septic system.
I'm not asking that question.
So
I'm asking where your wall.
Oh, the wall is located from this walkway to here, and then it goes back to here. It is on there, you know? Slate wall.
Slate wall. It
Yeah.
appears to be off your property.
It is on the property line.
It doesn't say that.
I can assure you through FEMA, through the Somerset County,
I'm just reading the
Suffolk County
survey, sir.
Department. Okay. I get it.
It looks as if that is beyond the property line.
I can assure you it's on the property line, and I can bring other updated surveys if you'd like.
Well, the fence sits
Then-
on top of the wall, and it's 88 inches high. I don't care whether that's in front of it or behind it, because that is a fact. That it is 88 inches high when you're standing right next to it and you measure, and they are. It doesn't look like it's behind or in front, it looks like it's on the wall.
Okay.
Okay, so regardless of the fact that it may or may not be on the property, if the fence was brought to be flush with the wall and cut down so that from the ground to the top of the fence was 6 feet, correct? It would then also be around the same height as the rest of the wall and the gate, so I think it would look better, and I think you would then have your 6-foot.
And his problem still remains
Means that
a
it-
pool fence. And his problem still remains that you're gonna have to get an updated survey to show that that wall's on your property. Because according to that survey, that wall is on the other side of your property line, as pointed out by Peter.
Okay, that's no problem. We could arrange for that. My concern, and I agree, it would look very nice if we did it that way. My concern is that it's only 2-foot wall on one
Yeah,
side.
right.
Can't have that.
And we can't have that.
Oh,
It's not permissible.
because that wall goes into the grade?
Goes into the grade on the other side. So from the property side, looking at the street, it's a 4-foot wall.
Right.
From the street side, it looks like an 88-inch wall.
Well, no, it doesn't look like it is an 88.
Okay,
Right.
so
What would you like to do?
Table
fix it so I can get approved, so I can move forward on this property. So I guess I'm asking you, and what would you find an acceptable alternative?
That's not for us to do, that's for you to bring to us. So why don't we table this and give you 2 weeks? You have a week to be able to bring it back to the
So-
counters to go on to the next agenda.
But if I remove, I'd love some guidance. You're saying that if I move the
The
wall-
guidance that we have is code. I can't do anything about your survey. I don't know how quickly you can jump on
I
that.
have other surveys, so I will look at that.
As far as guidance, you need to stay within code. You need your code for your pool fence, and you need your code for your
building.
wall or fence facing the street.
So my understanding is that if I remove that wall and go back a foot, I don't need to come back here. Because then it's not part of the architectural review board because it's no longer a fence over 4 feet.
Right.
I like your wording. Is that correct?
Technically, yes.
I
Can
agree with it.
Can I
Okay.
make a recommendation
Of course,
that I'm
I'm
willing
looking
to?
for it.
I will go with you to the building department if you want.
Okay.
Because my reading of the code in the front yard dimensions that we all understand, you're correct. I don't want this board to recommend a specific setback since we don't have
That's
setbacks.
why I'm not committing to it.
They can tell you for the pool compliance. Because if your concern is the safety, which you articulated, theirs is also. I don't want
Sure.
someone to be able to climb up that wall, so they may have guidance that they can give you. And if you're comfortable with their recommendations and you are no longer in front of this board, then I can relay that back to Adrian.
Perfect.
And we can move from there. But we could
Okay.
table it, Chairman, if you want,
I do want to table
for
it,
now.
and I'm glad that you're out here all summer.
I'm not. I flew out here in a very bumpy ride.
Thank you for coming out.
All right, so when would I meet with you? Do you want to meet tomorrow morning? Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. I am here tomorrow. I might be the only one. I am here.
Nicely done, everybody.
Here.
Oh, downstairs.
In this building downstairs.
It almost needs an engineer.
So we would meet.
You can come to me and I'll walk over with you to
Yep.
it's just in the next building,
Okay.
next door, or you can call me.
All right, let's do that.
Okay.
Oh, they're around somewhere, maybe they went in. I got them.
You tell me, and I'll do 9:30.
I don't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
any,
yeah.
Edwin,
Yeah.
I don't think has any.
Right, with the regular building.
The photographs that we were looking at.
All right, moving right along. For Raven Solomon, tax, there's no tax map number on this. 30 Wildflower Road, Springs, New York. We need to add a tax map number to Wildflower.
We also need to get a survey.
Would it be on the
There's no survey on
application?
that?
Is the tax map number on the application?
Do you have a survey with it?
Oh, wait a minute, 37-3-13-2.
30,
0300 37-3-13.2.
thank you, Ed. Appreciate it. It's great. Edwin, please.
Okay, this is a arch, wasn't, I'm gonna read exactly, it's written, arch, wasn't cut 4 inches in the middle, side 6 feet.
Can you take your conversation outside, please?
Previous net cut to 6 feet. I honestly can't read the rest of it. And then it says deer fence, 6 feet high, and finish is brown, I got it on the gate, right? Yeah. And this is a picture of the gate.
Well, last time I was here, I was asked to cut the top off,
Right.
which I did.
You sure did.
I cried while he was
Yeah,
cutting it,
definitely.
so small.
Here's a photograph of the
Get a
gate as it
little
looks
attacked.
today.
So we did
Oh,
cut
it
the
looks
top off.
great.
Yeah, I think it
Oh,
does.
I like it.
Yeah.
If you hadn't seen it with the scroll, it looks,
Right.
it looks, it's fine. You
That's
know,
pretty good.
it makes everybody happy. You have a smile on your face, I'm happy.
Edwin, are you happy?
With the gate, it's still too high.
How high is it?
The gate is 6 feet, 6 inches. The end
From
posts,
grade?
From grade, and the posts are 6 feet 11 inches from grade. And the pedestrian post is also 6'11". This is a picture of the pedestrian gate to the left there.
Oh.
And the pedestrian gate is 6 feet 8 inches at the top of the arch.
Can the gate be dropped and the post cut?
Well, the post can be cut, yes.
And can the gate be dropped?
This is all at grade.
Yes. And I think one thing that's very important in this particular instance, the gate measures between 153 feet and 155 feet from the edge of the pavement. So it's not in your face. And it's, as you can see, it's not at all opaque. And from the street, it looks very nice, I have to tell you.
And where's Wildflower up in the Springs?
Wildflower is at the end of Springs
Wildflower.
Fireplace off of Hog Creek Road.
It's a cul-de-sac, so nobody really drives through the street.
It is a cul-de-sac.
Yes, it is.
It is.
And she's the last house on the other side.
And how far back is it again?
153 or 155 feet, depending on which side you measure.
It's the best you could do.
Well, when you cut the top of this off here, the post that he's speaking about is, the hinges to the gate is there, so you really can't cut that because it will compromise the weight of the gate.
One thing you should do, though, you should take that off there. It's the only one that's left, the others are all gone. That would
Well,
help.
the thing is, if I cut that off.
No, I'm saying, this is right down to there.
Oh, just the ball
Yeah,
on top?
That way it'll be the
Yeah,
same
I
height
know.
on the other side.
That one got knocked over
Yeah.
and I forgot welded back on, so yeah, I guess he could cut that short. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, the other
Make it
thing
look
is,
even.
we need a survey showing where the fence and gates are.
I have a survey and I gave it to the building department. They asked for that, because I'm trying to just,
How old is the survey?
it was just done.
Is it possible to get a copy of it delivered to the office?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I don't see how we can approve it without seeing it.
Can't.
Is this,
We'll have to table it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you have a little work to
Sorry,
do,
can't
just to
really-
clean that up.
So just to cut this.
Yeah.
wall
Here's
off,
a copy of
and then
the
we'll go-
survey.
And the pedestrian gate there, you couldn't do.
Okay, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it.
Okay,
It does have
the
a
thing with
gate.
that is, he did cut this off
Yeah.
and the mesh, and so this is 6 feet, and that's because it's arched. It's between 3 and 4 inches, I mean,
but it shows the gate.
does that really make 3 or 4 inches make a big difference?
Is there any fencing
You wanna
issues
go
with
with
this application, or it's all just gates?
I don't know, we don't have a survey.
Well, you're
Well,
on the
we have an
property.
old survey.
Yes, but I
You don't remember.
well, no, it's not a matter of remembering, I want to see where it is in the survey.
Could you, look at that.
Where'd that come from?
Came from,
Jameson had it.
Oh, Okay,
And there was one in the file also.
Right.
I should have been given one.
Yes. Okay, take a look. It's from 2009. If it indicates so properly, and it is in the same location now.
And the fence is a very large part of the property.
How tall are your stockade fences?
Well, six, oh, they're 8 feet, huh?
No, the wooden ones are
Yeah.
6 feet.
They're 6, okay.
All around,
Mhm.
they're all the same height.
What do you think, Richard?
Wherever
Don't
they
you
are,
think
yeah,
we should
yeah.
pull this across the back a little bit?
I mean, is the application just for the gate at this point?
No, it's a fence.
It's the gate and the fence.
And the fence is off the property.
Well, that, we're gonna correct that.
Oh,
That
so
will-
it
that-
is, yeah, right here, yeah, right here.
No, that actually is that on,
And that's
Is
all.
that your neighbor's
the
fence?
neighbor is on my property, actually.
Good to know. Okay.
But you connected to that fence then?
Right. So all this is open over here.
Right.
So there's an easement in the back, which you're off of, that's no problem.
Mhm.
No,
And I
actually,
believe-
that's not part of her property,
What's that?
the easement.
No, no,
Yeah.
it's not, but the fence is inside it.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time I was here, the only issue was the front of the house, the gate and the fence that faces the road. Everything else,
The stockade fence? Was that the question?
no, when I was here last, the question was the iron gates and the deer fencing on either side that faces the road. Everything else is in the
That's
woods.
correct.
And you said whoever was sitting here at the
Okay.
time said it was fine. 'cause
I
it's
don't
in the woods.
understand how you connected a fence to your neighbor's property fence.
Oh, no, it's not connected to the neighbor's property.
Okay, well then, this is not helping me, I mean, just
It does look like
Which
that your fence
area?
is off the property right here.
Yes.
right here, okay?
Right.
This is your neighbor's fence, and you're connected to your
No,
neighbor's
I'll
fence.
correct it. What I was told is that this fence that's here, my deer fencing in that area is off, so they have to move it over.
Okay, that's just what I said.
Yes, I'm sorry, I thought it was the other side. This
No.
is the side that their property, they're on my property. I wasn't sure which side you were
So
referring to.
this fence on this side
Mhm.
belongs over here. And this has got to be moved in.
That's going to be moved, I
Okay.
think they said 5 inches or 6 inches, I'm not sure what it was.
Not much.
No, it's not much.
Okay. You need to do the work. We can't approve it until you
Okay,
do the work.
So tell me what I need to do
You need to
besides
move
cut-
the fence onto your property.
Right.
And you need to get an updated survey showing that it's on your property.
Okay.
And it'll also give us an indication if there are any other fences that have been erected since 2009 when the survey was done. So
Mm-hmm.
it gives us the right to be able to authorize you to do the rest of your work. So
Okay.
you need to clean up the rest of this gate.
Which
You
was
need to
just,
move,
was
you need to
cutting this
move
piece.
this fence onto your property. You need to receive an updated survey which you bring in. So we're going to table this for now.
I just have one question.
Sure.
If there was a fence that Raven said was an issue when she was with us the last time,
And that was the stockade, if I'm correct.
No. it
it's a
was ju-
deer fence, you
It was just,
What
whatever
goes-
was facing the street,
Right.
that's what was
And-
the issue.
And it's a deer fence.
It's a deer fence. It
And
was cut down, the
to
black
what?
poles
No,
were
no,
to
it's
six.
the right height
It's
now.
right,
And what height is
and the
that?
poles were
6
cut
feet.
down.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just wanted to get that on the record.
Okay,
All of this was cut down to 6
Okay,
feet, and that's all I
perfect,
was
all right.
asked to do.
I
Right.
took a picture of it.
fine.
Okay.
You have a little work to do.
So the work is moving this piece
Yeah,
over,
and
then
bringing
a
us
a
an
new survey.
updated survey. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So we're okay with the gate and the deer fence as
We're
as they
tabling
are?
this.
I moved we table it.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Okay. For Adam Levin, again, I need a tax map number on this. 5 Bay Lane, East Hampton. How are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Good, just introduce yourself.
Jeff Ulysse,
All right,
agent
Jeff.
for the owner.
Okay, Edwin.
Yes, there is 0300
Hold it.
54 318.
Thank you.
Okay.
Want to read it into the
he's
record?
Proposing a deer fence along the front of the property. We have a drawing on the survey where they're proposing to do it because it has not been done. We previously approved this gate here. Did we approve it? Did we?
Yes, that's
We were
correct.
requesting
That
a
is
survey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Okay, so but this is where they're proposing to do the fence. However, this fence is on the reserve area next door, and this one is on the neighbor next door on the other side. And then it also goes through the coastal protection area. Now, the question is, where's the front yard on this property?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Which
So
qualifies
this
as
is
the
the
front
stone
yard,
wall.
this or that?
Pardon me?
This is the stone wall,
I
so
know.
the fencing does,
Well, doesn't the fence go along that too? I didn't walk back there.
no, I believe it stops at the stone wall.
It does, okay.
Is
This
it on the reserve?
waterfront?
Yes, it is.
So this is the front yard?
That's, has to be the front yard.
Yes. That's why I came over here. Oh my God.
Okay. All right, so that's not gonna happen back there.
Well, we can approve this, I guess, it's proposing 6 feet.
6 feet is fine.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to bring the other two,
I'm sorry, he's
Fences.
proposing 8 feet.
8 feet not
Yes.
enough either.
Well, so he's got 2 front yards.
Are the sides 8 feet?
Yes,
Okay. 2 property lines at 8 feet. The third at 6 feet.
Okay.
All fences on the property.
Right.
Front yard is the back.
Correct. Now,
Still yard.
Gotta come off the
That's
reserve.
public road.
this fence here, we're not connecting, so I don't know if this is
Still gotta
his.
come off that.
Yeah.
I just want to confirm, because
Yeah.
when I spoke to the landscaper, he didn't confirm that this was their fence either.
that is a
Um,
reserve area.
Right, which is what I'm saying, it's not on their property, and they never confirmed that this is their fence. I'm not sure, maybe the previous owners may have built this fence and just left it, but as far as the current owners, they never built this fence going along the reserve area. So either, I mean, I could tell them to remove it,
Yeah.
but.
Or move it onto the property, right?
Yes.
If we can figure out if it's actually theirs, if there's someone that, if the previous owners did build it, then I would definitely tell them to move it. If they didn't build it,
What's the date on this?
this is, it should be very recent, actually.
Okay, so they must have a survey from their C of O when they purchased the house, which would indicate whether or not that fence existed at the time and was part of their purchase. So if you go back and find the original survey and the dates on that, that's no problem.
Okay,
If in fact they can't,
Right.
then the fence either has to be removed or moved onto the property,
Okay.
either way. And you can't be in the coastal protection area no matter what. So, and again, this is your front yard.
right, right.
So as
But
far
this
as this is concerned, this could be at 8, but only 2 property lines can be at 8. So I think your client's gonna have to make a choice of where he wants the 8-foot fence.
I think most likely we'll probably demo the one that's in the reserve area, just because there's quite a bit of landscaping on that side anyways.
Okay?
And that stone wall provides them correctly. I think that stone wall provides them some enclosure there on that side. So,
May I see the survey?
So that's a cul-de-sac, and there's other properties that, what we're talking about, that you're saying can be 8 feet, faces the cul-de-sac.
It can be, but this
No,
property
actually-
isn't.
I understand that.
Only the ones that face the water, because there are 2 or 3 on there that are not waterfront.
I just have a concern about the 8 feet facing
Yeah,
the
so this can't be-
I agree with you.
No.
I wouldn't be so quick to say yes to that.
Right.
The sides, yes, facing the cul, because it,
But if they have more than 2 sides fenced, the third side has to be at least 10 feet off the property.
It can be
Am I right?
4 without, it can be above 6, you
Well,
guys
that's not what we're
can,
talking about here.
you can permit that.
If he moves that fence onto the property, you should pull it in 10 feet.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I would propose,
wait until they finish.
sure.
4 without anything, 6 6 on the sides without anything,
Right.
but it can go up to 8. You guys just never do that.
Even here, that's the front yard. But this has to be 6.
What do you think?
This can only be 6 feet. What are they asking for?
8.
Because it's
Front
yard
yard.
fronting.
On a street.
Granted, but that's not
6.
the front yard.
It is.
Is it?
In a yard facing a
Street.
From a technical language, you're correct.
right.
From a technical code language, this
It's the waterfront.
is
It
the
had-
waterfront, therefore
is
it
the front yard.
qualifies as the front yard.
You can have 2
Yeah, you can.
front yards.
But this is not considered a through lot. This is considered still, one front, 2 sides, and a rear yard, correct?
Well,
I
the,
think-
the front yard issue and the yard fronting are separate. So we're all in agreement that the front yard is the waterfront side. But the yard in the back is still a yard fronting a public way.
Right, so that would be under the discretion of the board to approve an 8-foot, or is it code that it can't be 8
No,
foot?
it's code.
It's code that it has to be,
I don't want it to be.
shall not exceed 6 feet.
Okay.
Perfect.
So 6 feet is what you would approve on the front,
On the
facing
cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac.
Anything facing the cul-de-sac
Right.
would be at 6 feet.
Okay.
Now, the other thing is, you need to come back to us after you've had this survey updated,
Okay.
so that we can see that the fences are on your property,
Okay.
and that only 2 property lines have an 8-foot fence. And get out of the reserved area.
This would be prior to or after approval of construction of
Oh,
the
I
front.
can't answer the question. I mean, you're talking about construction of,
The front fencing.
His
So-
No.
application is only right now
Right.
for the front fence.
Right.
So I can return after we've
okay, I'm
completed.
not going to grant permission for that fence with everything else on this property the way it is. So we're going to table this,
Okay.
and you know what we're requesting. So go back to the client
Uh-huh.
and come back with a concrete decision and an updated survey after the work has been performed.
Well, I have a concrete decision. We'll make this 6 feet.
Okay?
That's fine. We'll find out who owns this fence, and if it is current owner, I'll have him move it in within the property line. But then you also want another fence to be within 10 feet away, or 10 feet
10 feet
away
off the property.
off the property line. All right, so it'll probably be this one anyways then.
Let me ask you a question.
Well, the
No,
only
no,
thing.
hold it just a second. You say that they didn't put that fence up on that reserve area.
That's what they told me, yes.
Who did?
I'm not sure.
If it was the
It might-
previous
it might
owner,
have been the
there's
previous
still,
owner
they,
then.
if it
It'll
was
be
the
in the
Which
previous.
is
CFO.
fine, which
What,
is
it'd be
fine.
what?
If we confirm that the previous owner did it, then I'll tell them that it is their responsibility
It is, right?
to remove it.
Yes.
So we'll
That's
If
what I
confirm
was
it's,
trying to
if it's in the
say.
C of O, it's theirs.
Right.
It's got to go.
And we'll make this one the 10 feet off the property line, up to the coastal protection area.
Jeff,
Which
can
is
you
fine.
just draw outline with dashes.
Okay.
Chairman, can I also make a
Yes.
suggestion regarding the potential neighboring fence? Perhaps they should contact the attorney that helps them purchase the property, look
Sure.
at the title report. I don't want this board to be giving any suggestions about moving something that's on someone else's property.
Right.
Sure.
It's on a reserved area.
It's not on
Another
a residential
Right.
property.
But
Do
her
they
point's
own the
still
reserve
open.
area?
No, it's the access to the beach for that subdivision.
Right.
Okay. I don't want to direct anybody to to touch something that's not theirs, that's also not on their property. They can have,
Yeah,
But
I
I'm,
agree.
but I'm
If
telling
it's
you,
in-
it's a reserve area.
No,
It's not a private property.
Understood. Understood.
so it will be in their title report whether or not that was included.
That's what Richard
Right.
was saying, right?
Okay, moving the other one in.
Nice fences.
They really are. Questions?
None.
Tabling this,
So
We are tabling.
Okay, I move we table.
Thank you. We have a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Just to confirm, since we're tabling it, what do you want me to return and what can we do in the meantime, in between the time?
Not much. Not much. Just get it corrected.
Which would include also removing that fence if it is, turns out to be
Again,
bogus?
from the language of the town attorney, you need to take a look at your title to find
Right.
out. You can find out through your certificate of occupancy when they purchased it.
Right,
Move the other fence.
right,
Get an updated survey from Hamptons.
okay. So,
Right?
okay, very good.
Thank you.
For James Petrie, tax map number 300-187-3-5. If you'd introduce yourself, please.
James Petrie.
Betsy.
Hi, James. Can we include 8 Collins and 10 Collins in this discussion,
Yeah,
since
we
it's 2 houses with a shared drive and it's one fence that they're asking?
Fine. For Charles Forsman, tax map number 300-187-3-6, and you are.
Charles Forsman.
Welcome. Betsy.
So, this is 8 Collins Avenue, but actually the front house facing the street says 10, so let's say it's 10 Collins Avenue. And it butts to the back of the North Main Street IGA. So there's I'm gonna show you some pictures. First of all, your pictures were amazing. I'll show you the survey. Okay. So, right now, there's a house with a picket fence, a driveway, and some trees, and 4 5-foot privet, and then there's the back parking lot, which, is very active day and night, I would imagine, and although this must be way in the back of number 10, this is sort of some of the pictures, if you want to pass them around, that they're dealing with. They're proposing,
Actually, that first picture was just showing that a car had rammed the cement post and pushed the entire IGA fence onto my property.
these are the pictures that I took from their driveway facing the IGA parking lot and the IGA building. If anybody wants to.
Yeah, I want to take a look at this.
Okay. And I'm gonna pass around all the other pictures that were submitted.
We have.
They have,
Here you go.
The same.
yeah,
Because, I'm empathetic
and both brothers.
to your situation,
Submitted the same picture.
but I'm going to go ahead and continue to, there's more pictures. They really just, okay. So what they're proposing is, and it just allow me to kind of get through this, is a 2-foot retaining wall with an 8-foot stockade fence on tops for a total of 10 feet. And they included a highlighted part of the code which reads, "Fences and walls shall not exceed 8 feet in height, but upon written finding by the Architectural Review Board of exceptional circumstances related to high levels of ambient noise, light, or property damage from animals which cannot be abated by the landowner and from which protection is needed or of public interest considerations, fences and walls up to 10 feet in height may be authorized." So, regardless of whether we authorize this 10-foot stockade fence or not, my question is, the amount of space between your driveway and the property line of the IGA, do you know where the privet is and the trees, do you know how wide that is?
It's labeled on the.
Do you see it?
Well,
And then
that's
my question would be then, regardless of whether it's 10 feet or 8 feet or 6 feet in different areas, would you take all that privet out? Because I believe the privet's on your property line, and there are also some shade trees there too.
Anything that falls under my property line, I would remove.
You're gonna remove all of that?
Why are you taking out the privet?
The privet is distressed, to say the least. If anything, we plan on taking it out, making the fence, and planting on our side of the fence. So
Alright,
at
well-
least the IGA has
Could you
a
show
nice
me on
wall.
the survey?
This, I think, also too is.
Where the fence would be?
Here's another
So the
survey.
fence in question would be from, there's a tree right before this little opening. So the fence on 8 Collins Avenue would span about 115 feet along this property line.
Right.
And the fence spanning on 10 Collins would go from, property line to property line.
Mm-hmm.
Be the same fence.
Yeah.
So, what I'd like to just say, my initial reaction, knowing the area intimately, okay, coming either from Accabonac onto Collins or North Main onto Collins, we're talking about a small little area, okay?
Yeah.
Because it's the IGA and it's your house and then the corner house. To put a 10-foot stockade fence where you're coming around each of those corners, that's the only thing you're gonna see. I really am, I wouldn't vote for it. So what I'd like to propose is that with the board's discussion, that maybe we can come up with something where, in the beginning, where there's a sight line from the roadway, coming at your house, that we don't do something that high, and that you then go like something maybe not as solid and as high, halfway down the property, where then you don't have that visual jarring wall, and then you can beef it up as you get further back. The only thing I also want to say is with those spotlights coming from their lamp posts, no matter how tall, because they're higher than 10 feet, you're always going to have that light emanating into your house, even with a 10-foot wall. And I'm really
agree.
reluctant to approve a 10-foot wall in that area, not only because of the visual impact, but also how small that area is. And I think for the neighborhood, it would be very claustrophobic to put such a large wall that close to the roadway.
So I think we're in agreement that along the area closest to the front yard, we would do a smaller fence that slowly went up until you found it a necessary distance away for the sight line to be clear. So say it's even half of this property, but once you get back into the depth of the property, the only person it's concerning is our 2 properties in the
Right.
IGA, which
Right. The other
it's not
thing that
really-
I'm reluctant to about this is, if you wanted to pull the privet out and then replace it again, to soften it, that's one thing. I don't know if you have the space, your driveway kind of comes pretty close to that.
Yeah.
And it's macadam, is it not, or is it stone?
Excuse me?
Your driveway, is it macadam or is it stone gravel?
It's-
Stone driveway is listed
Yeah.
as.
Yeah,
It's
it's-
stone, so it's gravel, so you would be able to shorten your driveway. But I'm reluctant to also have you take down those shade trees. Because you've got a couple of them.
Shade trees are the ones that are just about, the ones that are in the,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a shade tree here.
So we're
there's
not
a shade
touching
tree
those
there.
trees.
We wouldn't touch those.
those
But
trees
how
are
are you
staying.
gonna get the fence around those?
So the fence goes basically up until the one tree, and then there's no fence. I'm gonna leave the existing privet, which is about 6 feet here, and then there's a small walkway, and then this is another. It's still about 5-6 feet of privet, and then it drops down to about 3 feet on Charlie's entire property. So the 2 trees in question would not be touched at all.
Okay, so let me just get my bearings here. So there is no tree from Collins Avenue to your house, the first house?
There's one.
There's one, all right, so that's one tree. And that, again, that shades and
Yeah.
blocks the IGA when you're coming off of Accabonac. So to lose that, so I don't, it's a tough nut to crack. Any ideas?
Alternatives?
Alternatives.
Tell me how you'd like to step it up.
Well, if the area in question is here, we would go for a smaller fence while keeping the shade trees.
Give me a height.
Is the smallest fence 6 feet?
Smallest fence is 4 feet.
So if there was a way to do a fence that stepped up from 4 with a gradual incline to 6, a gradual incline to 8, and
And
then,
then we're not gonna see it at 8, because it's that far back off the road and hidden by the IGA.
Right.
Yeah, and then
then you
the
don't
only
need
one it's
this,
affecting is
this
the parking lot.
retaining wall.
Well, could you even start with 6? Because my main problem is the headlights from the cars. My bedroom is right across from that, and
You're in the
bathroom.
front house?
Yeah, bedroom and bathroom. So anyone who's in the IGA parking lot can
Well,
see
you know, the only question I also have for you, if you don't
directly
mind,
into my bedroom
is
and
that
bathroom.
you're saying that the privet is shot. I thought it looked pretty healthy.
That-
And if you're concerned about the cars, why were you cutting your privet down to 4 and 5 feet? Why didn't you just let it keep growing higher?
we bought the property in December. It's
Oh,
always been
so
like
it's
that.
been,
Yeah.
it's been
It's been
trimmed.
maintained
right,
like that
okay.
forever, yeah. And the privet that is in front of my house is basically all destroyed.
In the
I mean,
back
there's-
where you
there's
saw the
photos
other
of there.
photo where the fence was,
Mhm.
the knockdown fence.
Right, in the back.
Right.
I'm more
Yeah.
concerned about the front,
Okay.
you know, and this is more in the front.
So if there was a way to
5, 6, 8?
5, 6, 8, and then to 10,
No, not the 10. We're not doing 10.
In the back.
We're
Here.
not doing
No.
10.
even if we meet
We're not
the
doing
exact.
10. We're not doing 10.
Because it's not going to shield you from the
You can
light.
take a vote on it.
So the light, I'm not concerned much about the light from the IGA.
But in the
most
back where you
concerning-
want the tent, what's back there that 8 foot's not gonna,
The most
do the-
concerning to us
the
is the
job.
cars pulling in and the
but that's in
constant.
the front, not in the back.
No, there's parking all the way into the
Right,
back.
but if you have an 8-foot fence, cars
Yeah.
are not 8 feet.
Cars' headlights at 10 p.m. still go over an 8-foot fence. So our main concern is trying to get the highest fence, and our
But a
second
10 foot
concern,
isn't gonna solve that.
but it would still mitigate it more than an 8-foot fence. And our second concern is the refrigeration trucks that have constant, they stay there for hours on end,
Vibration, sure.
turned on.
They're in there
And those are
pretty
well
early.
over 6 and 8 feet. The refrigeration units are on top, so a 10-foot would mitigate
And they're in the
that.
back there.
Yeah, there's photo evidence
Right.
of that as well.
And this is with all due respect, but when you bought the house in December,
Yeah,
the IGA was there. You
Yeah.
knew that this was an issue.
yeah.
Okay.
We knew it was an issue, but we didn't know exactly the extent of the nighttime traffic and
Right.
ambient noise and light.
Well, and also too, what you're also looking at is during a short period of time in the summer months where it's more busy than in the winter months. So it's just a 3 or 4 month.
I agree with that, but I don't think it affects the delivery times of the trucks, which is between
You
3
have a
and
major
5 a.m.
problem.
Yeah, yeah.
We appreciate that. If you would like to adjust the height to 5, 6, and 8, I'm inclined to vote for it, but I'm only one member of the board. So if you'd like,
I will support 5, 6, and 8, but I'd like at least on the 5 and the 6 to make sure that there is some landscaping in front of that fence, so that when you, because it's so close to the roadway,
So,
you know.
sorry, say that one more time.
So-
Landscaping.
On
the
your
privet.
side, between the fence and your driveway, so then when you're turning onto Collins Avenue from Accabonac, that you're
Yeah.
not looking at a 5 and a 6-foot stockade fence.
Okay, so you're looking at.
You're looking at some
Privet.
greenery and that you keep the tree that's in the front.
Okay.
and the stockade, the good side will be facing the IGA, unfortunately, but.
And,
that's
but if
okay.
you have landscaping, then you're not gonna see the bad side.
Yeah.
So do you want them to mark 5 and 6? Do you wanna,
Definitely. Yeah. Your choice.
how do we wanna do this? Can we,
Let's take one survey and mark up where your 5 feet will go to, where your 6 feet will go to.
I
and
would
where
like,
8
I would
foot
like
begins.
to,
His survey should be included somewhere in the next folder.
Yeah, should be one somewhere else.
anyway, I found this in the file. Is this yours?
Yeah. Sorry. It's yours.
Let's see.
This is only partial.
Yeah, so that's 10, that's 8 columns and then 10 columns.
That's what I got from you.
I think that's a larger copy.
got them both?
Yep.
How many total feet is it that you wanted to put the 10-foot?
It's about 115 feet.
Can we just divide each by that number? Like the 5-foot is,
Well, they're different with the breaks because of the trees.
I got an
Yeah, that
idea.
would be
I
the
got an
natural.
idea. Why don't we table this, okay? And have you, knowing the property,
Mhm.
right? And you go and figure out where the 5 feet starts and ends, the
Yeah.
6 feet,
Yeah, I don't really
based
wanna
on
guess.
the trees
think
and
that's a
everything
great
else.
idea.
And
Yeah.
come back to us with that and on your, you know, on your survey.
If you could
and-
do a combined survey that are both the same
Right.
scale.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
because
mock it
that
up.
one is a different
Right.
scale.
The only thing is I'm gonna want everything back that was in
Yeah,
my
this was
design.
yours. This was yours.
So why don't we do that? Is that great?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that sounds good. But my final question is the 10-foot. I mean, we fit both parameters for extenuating
You can
circumstances for a
continue
10-foot
to make
fence.
it part of your motion, and it'll
Yeah.
either be confirmed or denied.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
And all those photographs that I sent around?
Okay, they're in the file.
So
You
we
know-
can come back in a week's time. if
In a
we-
Yes.
week's time, come back to the office with a presentation before noon on Thursday, and we'll be on the following agenda, which is 2 weeks from tonight.
That just has to include our current application and the changes that we're gonna make on
And the
survey.
notation on the survey.
And you're gonna
combined
mock
survey.
up a combined survey for us. The only
Fair
thing,
And you can show 10 feet,
Okay.
see if it flies.
All right. Thanks.
Absolutely.
thank you very much. Adrian,
Yes.
I don't know which survey goes with which application, but I'm just going to give you back what I have. And if you need some help trying to identify that, I'll be more than happy to do that with you. If not, you know.
I know
you-
which one is what.
Great. Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you. You too. Yep.
That's very well. Charles Forsman, tax map number 300-187.
We were sitting there with James.
Sorry?
Just Gino,
I'm sorry?
No, John, yeah.
James
Forsman was
and Charles
Collins.
were together,
Okay.
so we're doing Gino.
It's off to Gino Caputo.
Okay. The interesting question was on that, whether that fence was off the property. And we forgot to bring that up.
There is no, oh, the one in the back? I don't know. But
Well,
I have.
I made a note of it.
Yeah, you mean
that's
there's
all.
the chain link that got
Yeah,
pulled down? They're
yeah.
probably gonna pull that down
Yeah.
anyway.
Regina Caputo, tax map number 300-113-1-8.2. Hi. And you are?
Alyssa Price.
I'm sorry?
Alyssa Price.
Would you spell your last name?
Price.
Great. Edwin?
Okay, this is for change existing rear fence to 4-inch black metal poles. Metal fence 8 feet for a total of 730 linear feet. And there is a modification request for deer fence in this permit. And the letter says we are requesting the original permit purpose stating construction of 730 linear feet of 8-foot deer fencing with black wire and 2-inch metal black poles be changed to construction of 730 linear feet of 8-foot deer fencing with black wire and 4-inch metal black poles. Changing the posts to 4-inch metal poles will provide a much sturdier fence that will prevent the fence falling if any trees fall on it. With the high population of deer in this area, the larger posts will help prevent the deer from jumping the fence and will help protect the property from increasing tick infestation. The fence will follow the requirements and will be painted black to help blend with the property. And this is the survey.
All right.
And took some pictures. This is our driveway is your parking area as you're coming in. The house is to the left in that picture.
Is this a code violation?
No,
And what's there now?
what's,
What's there, which is 8 feet?
yeah, it's all 8 feet. except for the stuff on top of the, yeah, that, see, the applications for the fence is not for gates.
How tall is the gate, not the posts on the gate, just the
Okay,
gate?
just a minute, just about to tell you how it's before. Posts are, okay, the gate is 6 feet plus or minus.
This one.
Yeah.
That's the application.
Posts
Where's
are-
your property?
It's way, it's,
134 Old
It's,
West Road.
it's
It's
about
off of
500 feet
Cedar.
back off of Old Northwest Road.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, it's all the way back,
Very long driveway.
yeah.
Okay, so it is less than 50% of the property that's being fenced in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's at 8 feet on how many property lines?
That I don't remember, I have to look at the
Okay.
survey for that. I think,
What do you got there, Peter?
I think it's conforms.
I don't think there are any property
No.
lines.
Okay, that's
Because
fine.
it's,
It's smack in the middle of the property.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, they're all the way, he's all the way at the
Any
end.
questions on it?
No, I mean, it is indicating some fences here, but I'm assuming those are neighbors' fences
Which one?
along here, wire fence.
You know the fence in front belongs to the neighbor in front.
Right.
And are there gates?
Yes.
So that you can get out of here?
Out of the,
There are two gates.
Out of the,
Yeah, I took
Yeah.
pictures of
The-
one on each
Yes,
side of
the
the,
entire area that's been fenced in, are there gates so that you can get either into or onto this, other than going through the house?
yeah,
Where?
yeah,
on both sides of the house.
yeah, there's,
Here's a picture of
Is
the
it
one on the
indicated?
right, on the right side. Wait a minute, no, this is the one on the left side. This is the one on the right
Well,
side.
I don't see it, so,
On the survey?
yeah.
I just have a question. Why is this listed as 10 Prospect Boulevard?
That's because Caputo, it's confusing. Caputo is representing him, I guess?
yes, it's the contract.
And it should have been written differently. That was confusing to begin with.
Okay, so the property is actually 134
134
Old
Old
West.
Northwest Road.
How do you get out of that backyard? I mean, there's no fences, there's no gates that are indicated anywhere, just from a safety standpoint. You've got the entire backyard enclosed. Tell me where the gates would be.
Here's the lawnmower gate. And that's the.
Why
the
isn't
other
it on
side.
the survey?
I guess they weren't put up at the time they did the survey.
They what?
I gather they weren't there when they did the survey. think
Well, I
it would show.
presume that too, but this
The
is
other thing-
dated 2017 as a final.
And that doesn't show the wall either.
Okay, we need an updated survey.
Okay.
All right, and that's for the owner's safety and security as
Show
well.
the gates on the wall.
Yeah, right,
Okay.
okay, great. So we're going to table this.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I move we table it.
Thank you. We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Watch those surveys to make sure that they're matching what's
Okay, now who has the
there.
survey? You have it?
Okay, with the
It
surveys
went
here.
into the file.
It went into the file.
For Samuel Hillenbrand and Kathy Rockland, tax map number 300-176-3-13. And Michael, introduce yourself, please.
Michael Marin from East Hampton Fence and Gate.
Great. Diane?
This is an application for a 6-foot-high, 4-foot-wide gates with two side sections as entry from stone driveway, 6-foot-high metal deer fence and wood posts in between and in front of house and side. Color steel gray. It's very, very nicely done. This is in the same very beachy community in Amagansett. And it's very set back very, very far from the road, but it's very discreet. The survey is very old, 2007, and the property is very intensely built and gardened, and it's very, very nice. The existing fences are various deer fence and stockade fence around the property, and it looks to me like it's a lot more than 50%, covering more than 50% of the property. But the property is so compact, and the decking and the pool and the garden and everything is so that you have no sense of where the fence is. This 2007 survey shows you where the fences are, and this is where these front gates are.
So the gates are pedestrian gates, they're not driveway gates,
No,
correct?
they're both pedestrian gates. One leads to the garden, and one sort of leads to the back of the house, the pool and the service and everything. And they're definitely, I think they're just 6 feet. They're not particularly
And they're cedar,
open.
Michael?
They're cedar, they're actually at the highest point, I think they're 5'8" is the highest
Yeah,
point I
they're
measured.
very,
The fence itself is 5 feet.
5
The
feet.
posts are 5 feet, 6 inches.
maybe.
The gate curves up in the center, and I think that's the highest point on all of the.
Yeah, definitely.
How come we don't have an updated survey?
Nothing has really changed on this. It's just these 2 gates in the front. There's no 8-foot fencing on the property. It's
No,
not, it's
there's
not
definitely
8-foot
no.
deer fencing. It's just
Just some
basically,
old-
it's basically 2 wood gates, that are slightly forward
Is
of
this,
the.
is this fence which is existing on or off the property? The north face?
Can I see a copy of this?
The fences are totally obliterated by the gardening and the landscaping and the trees.
Yeah,
I don't think the fencing that's either off the property or that's the neighbor's property, I don't think it has anything to do with this
Doesn't.
application. It's just,
Okay,
these are just,
I mean, I would like to make a motion to approve the application.
we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Michael. You have another case or not?
I don't think so. That's it.
Have a
Good night.
nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rascue LLC, tax map number 300-48-5-38.1. Anybody here for the applicant? That's, nope. Am I right?
Yes, that is me.
It is you.
This was a code violation for 28 South Albert Lane, and I'm gonna just be really brief with this since the property owner is not here. There was 6-foot fencing that faces the front that they didn't have approval for on the side of,
Stockade?
yes, but it has a little trellis, and it's just a couple sections. This is up in the Shepherd's Neck area in Montauk. And, you know, there's all the little small tutors, the working tutors. So I have absolutely no problem with this, and there's like a little parking lot, and the neighbor has a little stockade fence. So I would be willing to approve that. However, on the side of the house, they have a picket, but they have a 6-foot something
Behind it
post and plastic, and it is so unattractive, and this neighborhood is so sweet, and they're just post and rail and little picket fences. So I was going to recommend to the applicant that they remove the plastic deer fencing and the posts, and even though the property is all enclosed because it's all tightly connected, that this would, you know, open that up, but
What's the
they're not
code
here.
issue?
The code issue was the 2 6-foot fences as well as a shed, but the shed isn't under our purview. The shed was too close to a property line. So I'd like to deny the application.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. For Robert and Terry Weigel, no tax map number on this. You must make sure that I have tax maps. Must. This is 39 Town Line in Waynescott. Anybody here for
The
the
tax
applicant?
map is 300-196-03-02.
Okay. And you've done the site inspection on this?
I have done the site
Okay, I
inspection.
just want to show you something, okay? Just so,
Yep.
okay, no, thank you. Peter?
So you're off of this one, right?
I am
Yeah.
off.
This is an application to put in a stockade fence, all right? It's an interesting piece of property. It is on Town Line Road and on Wainscott Hollow Road. And what they're proposing to do is to put a 8-foot stockade fence on Wainscott Hollow Road. Right now, this is very heavily wooded, right? I do have some pictures. I believe that this is Wainscott Hollow Road and that is the property. Right now, there is a agricultural fence which is hidden in the cedar trees which are along this, and I'd like to deny this proposal because I think, first of all, an 8-foot stockade fence is inappropriate, and I think it's also in an agricultural easement area, and this is completely open, so I'd like to make a proposal, we deny this
We have a second?
application.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
What was this for?
Oh, that goes in it.
Mary Jane.
Wait. For change to commercial site for Mary Jane's Real Estate, tax map number 300-163-7-23.1. Good evening.
Hi there.
Just
Hi,
reintroduce yourself
Chairman,
if you
board
would.
members. James Arnold.
Wonderful. Diane?
Yes. Now, you're coming back to us today with, I understand, the actual fabric of the awning.
Yes.
And you sent this picture of this white awning,
It was
a
supposed to,
mock-up picture of what it would be. Now, last weekend you were asking for a striped awning, but this is a solid awning, so I assume
It
there's
actually
been a
has-
change of heart.
it actually has a very subtle stripe.
Oh,
We
it is
just couldn't,
very nice.
So subtle.
so
that
subtle we
you
couldn't do it
can't
with the
see.
artwork.
Subtle is good.
Okay.
Subtle is good, yeah.
Just had quite a bit of trouble doing the rendering.
Uh-huh.
It just didn't. And we tried making copies, and it was rather interesting. They came out very green. I don't know why.
Well, I see it.
But
I mean,
we
we
were,
can all see it
we were
right
hoping
now.
to use this. It's called Beach. It sort of complements the stucco color.
Do you
That
have
is
a
approved.
sample of the stucco?
You have that in the file, was approved the last meeting.
Yeah,
you have-
we told them they could go
Yeah,
ahead.
let's-
And it looks great.
Let's see that with the.
I
Very
do
good.
very nice.
I do have one question
Yes.
about the the depth of the awning. Is it going to be the same depth that the original green one was, so you're
Yes.
not gonna make it any wider out into
Gosh,
the
no, we're
street?
not modifying it. Just would like to cover it with something sort of disappear.
Does
I
it
think
have
it's
to be
very-
that wide? I mean, that building is on the street.
The
Building's on
sidewalk-
the sidewalk.
Yes, and the
Yeah.
sidewalk's rather broad there.
It is. I'm not saying that it isn't, but I'm saying that the building, the mass of the building
Yes.
fills in the street. And the mass of the awning projecting over the sidewalk is rather large.
Do you know how deep it is? How many inches or feet?
I don't know.
3.5 feet.
I think we have that.
perhaps. If I may
I
take a
can,
look at.
I think it's a bit deeper. I think it's.
Well, when, if you looked at that, yeah, that looks like it's 7 feet, but it's not, and you actually should have copies of
I
what the
think we
original.
must,
Yes, I submitted those earlier.
yeah.
You know, personally, if you don't mind, I went by there today
Okay.
because we were, looking at
You
the
were
property
in the
around the
neighborhood.
corner.
Okay.
yes. And I saw that you were doing the stucco.
Yes.
And aesthetically, for me, I would prefer that there wasn't an awning on the building. I think the building's attractive, and I think what you're doing with it, and if you have a nice trim color, that you don't need the awning.
There's no purpose to it. Save you a lot of money. It'll look really nice.
I can't make that call.
Okay.
I mean, we were under the guise, first asking for black, then it was like, we like stripes, so I submitted stripes. You
Well,
didn't
you've
like
done
the-
such a nice
but
job. on the-
we're trying to get back to putting the awning back up. We took all the lights off that didn't meet code. We're trying to make this
Right.
thing look
So you still have the same frame? and all
same
you're
frame. We're
doing-
looking to make it with a subtle color to complement the stucco if we could.
Well, I think it adds a touch of, I don't know, sophistication to the building to have the awning. If it's a fresh new awning in these very discreet colors.
Yeah, no, I don't have a
If may I-
problem with the color.
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Are there any stores south of you? I think there's that little coffee cafe. Do they have awnings? Are there a few awnings? I know Serafina has an awning.
Just took
Which
the-
one's the,
Serafina
which
has-
Serafina's, which
Do you
one's the
have
length of
pictures?
theirs?
Yeah, I just took it and I don't know where they are.
But Serafina's is
But you don't really
further
see
back.
the,
It's
I mean,
not.
It's
this
the
is
same
prominent-
distance. Serafina's the same distance off.
This is the prominent building. I mean, more prominent to me is the building, the new building to east of you. And which I think that this would be very complimentary to that building, which is sort of stark and simple.
If I can broach the owner to perhaps get this to be a little bit smaller.
Has an eyebrow.
Well, because,
Well, if I,
Has
we
he kept
can't-
the frame?
pardon me?
Did he keep the frame?
Oh, yeah.
because the frame's off the building now.
Yes, so we can do the stucco.
Can they retrofit the frame to be smaller?
No, it'll be thrown out, and then we'll have to start all over, and it'll be tens of thousands of dollars again. But if we could find a way to make it smaller,
Smaller
afraid to ask this.
meaning shorter,
I don't know how to do that.
right, not as
it's-
long.
No, I think you're.
Oh, you
What I
mean
find
smaller with the depth
objectionable
is the length.
length of it.
That it, may I see that?
I don't mind the length.
I don't mind the.
May I see
I
that?
don't either.
Okay. That it goes
You wanna
across.
make a proposal?
You know,
if you
we've been
wanna-
looking at that, awning in that stark color contrast for so long that I think this would be very.
But it's not gonna go
fresh.
past the
No.
building.
It's just not the best of, not, I'm sorry.
Now, that's me.
Oh, you did?
I did
Oh,
that.
I don't, it could have been us. Could have been the
Well,
art rendering.
The saving grace for me is the fact that this is so tone on tone.
I think it's very, very nice. I make a motion that we accept this application for
We
this.
have a second?
Second.
We don't,
Alright.
we don't wanna see if we can get it a little less deep?
Oh,
or-
I think,
Are we splitting hairs here?
yeah, I think we're pretty.
Probably.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Done.
you. I'll submit this to you. And you'll have the color
And
and I'll
so-
bring a
Yeah.
sample. I
Yeah,
just can't
bring
rip
the
it out of this
sample
book.
in.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
Great.
Would you like that somehow now?
Yes, we would like the notes now on that, because they will go in the resolution.
No, it's the only thing we don't have.
What's that?
Scissors.
No, not scissors.
But now
How
he's-
about,
No, I don't know.
You can just read it into the record.
Okay.
To Adrian.
okay.
Just give her 1 second.
Sure.
Okay,
Okay,
then
I'm
we
gonna
just
submit
into
the
the record.
sample,
Go ahead.
the sample fabric accepted by the board. Sattler Manufacturing. Beach is the name, and the number 338662. And
Thank you for your
I'll give you a
time.
sample.
Great.
Absolutely.
That's good.
You get to keep that, I think.
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you kindly.
Good luck.
Okay.
All right, we're ready for the surf lodge. Biondo and Hammer LLP, tax map number 300-27-3-14. You ready for us?
As always,
Just introduce yourself.
Richard A. Hammer from Biondo and Hammer, everyone calls me Andy. I apologize, my application, it was pointed out to me, this has been going on a very long time. A lot of the things that I'm applying for now have been through all the various boards, some of which were actually designed and required by the town board. So I'm in here to get final site plan approval, for some pretty minor stuff at the end of the day. And I did meet Betsy on site just to.
Great, so let Betsy read this into the record, and we'll go on from there.
Okay, so this is an application for 183 Edgemere Road, which is the Surf Lodge, and there was a list of things that we looked at that Andy had put on here, and there's 2 things that we need to add to it. So I'll read this into the record. The attached plans illustrate compliance with the settled upon stipulation of settlement with the town board and have been reviewed extensively by the planning board. They include the legalization of several small structures, so I'd like to do one at a time.
Got it.
Okay? One is a utility box, LIPA, but it actually is a Suffolk County Water Authority box.
As part of our settlement, we installed indoor sprinklers. It requires the installation of what's called a hot box
Right.
to provide the pressure and volume of water necessary. So that is one of them.
Right. It is basically a metal structured box tucked into the side. There's no cover on it, so I'm actually
They going to
absolutely
paint
fine
it?
with that. No.
No,
It's just
brushed
a-
stainless steel.
It's just a brushed stainless steel utility box.
Next.
Okay. The dumpster enclosure, right? This needs a little explanation. So right now, when you come into the Surf Lodge, you come into the parking lot, and there's a dumpster, and there's an enclosure that looks like this. But they are going to make the entrance a circle. So in order for that to happen, they have to move the dumpster. And the only place that they could keep it is along this side, which you do not see from the road because of vegetation. But when I was out there, all of the buildings and all the little doors around the cottages have this vertical painted wood effect. So Andy and I were talking about that instead of this white board, that possibly they paint it and do this type of
You love that?
paneling.
Yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, I spent a lot of time looking through the paint cans. We could not find that color because the maintenance guy was off today, but we will agree that we will make it the same color and similar vertical
Great.
Okay.
cedar or other material.
Okay, so you will give Adrian a color chip?
Sure.
And we'll use this as an example where you could actually
Sure.
give us something else, okay?
Would
so-
it be possible to open up so we
Sure.
see the survey?
Sure, absolutely,
And you
absolutely.
can
And as a
point
matter of
out,
fact, I sat with Eric before, in planning, before I went to see Andy, and I highlighted some of the areas that we're talking about. So, thank you for that, Peter. So here's the little utility, right, so this is the pond, and this is Edgemere. This is the, yeah, this is Edgemere. This is the, I don't want, I'm straining my body, can you
Yeah,
explain
sure.
the,
You should be
the
taller.
pavement? I know. There's the utility box, and then explain to them what you're doing with the
Okay, so
circular
the
driveway.
plan here is we're gonna be installing a circular driveway. You're gonna come into the property and egress the property through here. None of that is under the ARB jurisdiction. As part of that, the existing dumpster enclosure is gonna be moved slightly from its existing. As a matter of fact, this is the existing. Maybe it'd make more sense to have it on the proposed, which I think is the next sheet. You can see that the arrows here, so the plan is they're gonna come in, the dumpster is being moved over. It's a new structure, so I have no problem saying this is gonna be reconstructed. She did highlight
I don't see the driveway coming out. Where is
It's going to,
see the
they're,
arrow right there?
they have, it's proposed.
proposed brush garden? 75-foot offset from surface waters. I see the entrance.
You know what, it's because there are different sets of it. This is an extensive set of the sanitary plans.
This looks like
Yep,
it
there you
might
go.
be what you're proposing.
That is the circular driveway, and this is the, it says existing dumpster relocated. It's actually, I believe, a little bit smaller, but there's nothing of that structure that can be relocated other than maybe the metal containers that are serviced and removed. There's a large planted berm that extends on the property and into the road right-of-way, that basically hides this from the road.
That'll stay.
Yes. Other than as it has to be cut to
Obviously.
come out on the road.
Okay. No, well, leave it open because there's more.
No, but let's
Well,
leave
but
that.
that
'cause-
sheet is probably only relevant for this. The rest of the things are highlighted here.
The only thing is I want to ask you, do you know the size dimension of these panels?
I'd say 2.25 inch.
All right, can you verify that?
Yes, I'll give you a full dimension tomorrow.
Okay, and with the paint chip, right?
Yep.
A walkway, so the walkway, just to let you know, that whole area is all decking, and there's an area that I guess wasn't decking, and they made it decking to match all the.
There was a walkway added for egress. I was told that the fire marshal liked it back in the day, so patrons on the deck didn't have to step down onto the unimproved areas to access the site.
So I have no problem
It's
with
about
that.
3 foot wide, maybe even, 30 inches.
Okay. Then there's also a storage area in the back, and the storage area is enclosed with a covering roof, and inside is refrigeration, and they use it for prepping for the kitchen and things like that, so you don't even really know that it's there.
Where is that?
It's in this area. This was existing as a storage area. We've consolidated it. Originally on the CO, there were containers and other things in this area. I think based on all our discussions, we've consolidated it into a single area so that we could kind of protect it from view.
And so from the pond, you don't see the storage units.
Outdoor storage area.
Yes.
You don't see it from the pond. I remember being back there.
But you see it from the pond,
You do see it from the pond.
right?
Yeah, you definitely see it.
Now, I want this drawing.
Okay, you like that drawing better?
Well, because this is what's being
Yeah, that's-
proposed,
that's right.
right, as
Correct.
opposed to the
Drawing,
existing.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay? This is for this. Yeah, there's a couple things that were on the application that isn't under our purview, and one is that they are putting a new nitrogen sanitary system underneath the parking lot.
Okay.
So there's a couple things that were not on the application.
So strike that from the application. And what's not on the application?
There's a bandstand, and there is a new sound attenuated.
It's a sound
panels.
attenuation structure that was installed pursuant to the STIP with the town board. It consists of kind of an over shell. It's about 8.5 foot tall. That has sound attenuating material on the backside. What you're seeing there was a backdrop that was added. They were using flags and other things to kind of have.
Is it a wall?
Is it a wall? Well, it's removed at the end of the season or after performances, so it's not technically a wall.
It's a temporary
and
panels.
where is that?
It's
That
temporary
is,
panels that go inside the structure, which
The
is the
original surf
bandstand.
lot, this is the actual structure right here. This is what this bin and this deck has always been where music has performed at the surf
Yeah.
lodge, so this was added to really buffer.
Jamison, do we consider this?
I think yes. And I know it, I read the site plan approval that was actually adopted last night, and it does describe this as a 10-foot tall, clear vinyl sound barrier. So the design as it exists now, I believe, is a chain, is a,
No, actually, it was never a clear vinyl. It always had black panels, which were the sound attenuating fabric that gets hung around the entirety of the structure. The top of it is clear acrylic,
Okay.
But the back of it has always been the sound attenuate, I think it's called LS400 material. That's a sound deadening. It's a temporary structure. It's only used for the purpose of attenuating the noise when it's up. But it was something the town board actually commanded that they do, and it has been very effective at reducing sound impacts across the lake. This is literally right on the lake, and it was focusing and diminishing the sound.
Is it a wall?
I don't
It's a
consider it
cover inside a structure, which is a bandstand.
I want to clarify, the town board required that sound mitigating structure, but they didn't opine on the design that's currently
The design was submitted to them, yeah.
the paint colors.
The paints, no, probably not. I think that was put up, and as a matter of fact, this material that it has this, I believe adds to the sound attenuation qualities, but in terms of the actual finish of it, it could be,
I mean, I have no
you know.
problem. And the reason why
Very
I
neat.
don't is the mural went away. So there's not competing murals.
I'm gonna
But
miss the
which,
mural.
That's up
I am
to
too.
you all to decide.
but we need to add to the application approval that the mural is now painted white.
But that was a change to the commercial.
I think I
element.
did submit that already and got approval for that.
I think you did too.
Yeah,
I do.
yeah, I did. Yeah,
To change it back to white?
We did?
yeah it
Okay.
weathered
Yeah.
off the
I
building.
might not have been here, or it might have been out.
I was told otherwise, but we could,
No, I did. I think I believe I did get approval from the
I
ARB for
think
that.
they
Yeah.
did. I'd swear to that one too.
Okay, so that we don't have to worry about, right? So what we need to do is put on here the painted sound attenuation
Yes, absolutely.
panels.
Is there anything else that is not on that application that you're seeking approval?
Wait, I'm not
for?
finished yet.
Even better.
So, there's an area from the decking that is a little seating area right on the pond. And I guess it was the fire marshal that,
The fire marshal and the building
and the
inspector
building inspector
suggested
wanted a railing.
Cable
So,
railing.
a cable railing. So on the front, the facade, they have this type of cable railing. So this is what they're going to put up. The only thing is, this is a flat top, and they want the top to be curved so that no one puts their drinks or beer bottles on it and then they fall into the pond.
I think it
So-
was for alcohol conservation. But it could protect the
Thank you.
So are we,
That's a first.
Where is that?
are we
That
okay with
particular
that?
area is adjacent to the hotel area. It's this area where you have kind of like an existing bulkhead / stone wall that there's a fairly, I don't know, 2.5 foot drop to the
It's
water.
actually
They were-
behind the motel.
Yeah, they
On the
want to make
pond.
sure somebody couldn't fall off of it into the water. It would be,
So it's
All the way.
from where to where?
From here to here?
yeah, you can see the X's on it, right? It starts here at the very end and goes through, follows along this bulkhead, and then it terminates right there.
Oh, okay, so it doesn't come behind the motel.
No, it doesn't go behind
Okay,
the
so
motel.
they're not gonna be able to get
It's-
behind the motel.
No, it's just in the area where you would
Okay.
walk in the motel, you could easily fall off. It's not well lit, obviously, and
And the alcohol content might
Yeah.
be.
Okay.
I did want to just show,
Hold on,
this
hold
is,
Yeah, no, go, you can
this
go.
is the CO survey. That outdoor storage area appears as various sheds and other, so it was on it. We kind of cleaned it up and consolidated a little bit. It used to extend out further into this area.
All right, while I was on the property, unfortunately, I failed to take print out a picture, but there's a small area next to the restaurant and shop that's called Bloom. Did you get the chance to
Bumble.
speak? Bumble? Did you
Yes,
get it?
they are submitting a sign
Okay,
application.
so I just want to show the board. Oh, it just disappeared.
You know the dimensions on it?
Yeah, it would, I haven't prepared
It's
the
not an
application yet.
application yet.
It's not, it's gonna be a sign permit.
So, it's on a board with some fake flowers and the word Bumble. And because the word Bumble is on the door, I suggested that it was signage and that they need to
It is.
come forward. So I'm not gonna include that on here if they're
No.
gonna resubmit, okay?
And I was unaware that that's a mobile gallery that has an artist every 3 weeks or so. And currently, Betsy and I looked in, there wasn't anything displayed because there is no artist. I think in 2 weeks they have Peter Weiss, I believe, is the artist who's going to be
All right,
doing
so
the installation there.
I am ready to make approval on these items on the application if
But I want
anybody
to
has
ask him
any
again,
question.
is there anything else that you're seeking approval for that is not written on the application that we're reviewing tonight? Because
Not
if
to my
we haven't
knowledge, no.
discussed it, it's not being approved. So whatever Betsy's got on this application and you've filled in, that's what you're going to make a motion on.
Yes, and
Right.
I would
Sure.
like for you just to initial these notes that I made on these types. Okay. Do you want me to go through each one? Yes.
No.
Jameson's nodding her head,
You
yes.
want
I think
Fine.
you need to
Fine.
be specific.
Yes, and I'm
I
okay
thought you
to
were
do that.
specific reading it in, but it's perfectly
Okay,
fine. You want to
it's-
redo it?
Yes.
Go right
All
ahead.
right, I make a motion that we approve the LiPo utility box as is. The dumpster enclosure that is being moved to the north,
Would be to the north, yes.
to the north, and will have a
Vertical.
2 by,
It's vertical 2.5, I'd say it's 2.5. It
okay,
should be
vertical
2.5,
2.5
4.
paneling on the,
To match the.
to match
To
the,
match
the
existing.
door, and
Color to match.
and color to match, and you'll submit that
Yes.
color. On the doors for the dumpster enclosure. I'm approving the decked wood walkway. I'm approving the rear outdoor storage area. And I am approving the sound attenuation panels, painted panels.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good
Thanks,
evening.
Andy. Oh, and I'm approving the railing.
Good.
Excuse me, Adrian, and I'm also approving the railing for this, what area are we calling this?
The bulkhead.
The bulkhead. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You have that?
One more, Betsy, is there one survey where all the locations?
I just have that package.
Okay, so we can reference one of the.
Yes,
surveys.
and Eric and I highlighted those
Okay.
areas.
We'll use that as where the locations of each of
Right.
these are. Okay, great,
Great.
thanks.
For East Hampton Indoor Tennis, tax map number 300-181-1-5.1.
Oh, wait,
Greetings.
wait, wait,
Hello, hello.
Oh, Adrian, I'm sorry, there's a survey.
Introduce yourself if you would, please.
Ernest Schieferstein, architect.
Good, now you can spell it. Please.
Schieferstein.
Okay, the application reads, we are rebuilding our tennis clubhouse that we lost in a fire on January 9th of 18, and rebuilding on the exact footprint, same square footage.
What is it, a clubhouse?
Yeah, it's a clubhouse for the East Hampton Indoor Tennis. Okay, this is the structure that burned down, so this is what is presently left. Looks like that.
Basically, it was the sign-in area, waiting area, men's, women's room, and some tennis.
I'm sure you're all familiar with the property. We've seen it over and over. being the extent of it, you want to show us exactly where that is?
Yeah, it's going to replace
Right in
this.
the front.
Right.
Okay, this is the indoor tennis park, and as you drive in, it is the first building that you see. There's another building back here which they're renovating as well, too. This is the actual drawing. And the facility itself. So Peter, you want to take a look at that as far as proportion and heights?
So there's no change to use or size?
Correct.
Yes, that is correct. Because all they're doing is replacing the kind in the building. So colors will remain the same.
Right, they're basically materials you've already approved for the siding, the stonework, the
For
window
the other
color.
buildings, for the other buildings?
Yes.
They all,
Right. Any questions on the design, height, windows?
What is the roof material?
It'll be an asphalt shingle, like what was there before.
do we need a sample of that?
No, because you have, and that's the second part of this application, you have solar covering the original.
Oh,
there,
okay.
So that'll
So it's
match.
with
No,
solar.
this is not, no, this is not solar on this. This is on the tennis courts itself. On the north side?
The collectors are on the south.
On the south.
Yeah, yeah, they're all.
I'm trying to picture. the
There are a
building.
few on the
It's
north,
it,
but
right.
the majority are, yeah.
So I'm sorry, is there going to be solar panels on this new
No.
clubhouse?
No,
Not on
not
this.
on the clubhouse. The clubhouse is small.
Right, so my question is, if it's asphalt shingle, do we need a sample of the color, or the name of the color?
It's gonna match what's across
It is
the
matching, it's
the street,
indicated
yeah.
it's to match.
Okay.
If you need a sample, we can
No,
get a
no,
sample.
I was just asking.
So what I try to do is make this small building try to match some of the scale of this huge enclosed tennis court area. So it's one story, but it's
What's this face?
yeah, that's,
Which is what you see?
this is this face.
Yeah, no, I understand
And this
that,
is that
but
face.
what material is this face?
That is a material, it's boral, it's a siding material, it's recycled material, and it'll be what they call nickel back siding. It has a slight groove, but it's smooth.
That's the same material that the tennis court is built of?
No, that's all metal.
That's all metal?
Yeah.
I think we need to see what this
Yeah, I
is.
agree with you.
It's just a smooth board with a slight groove.
And the
And
color?
the color I gave you.
But what's on the flip side of that? That's not it? The
On,
metal, or is that just the
on the
back?
back and the back
just the
side,
back.
this
It's all
is-
roof. It's all roof because it backs up to this huge building.
No,
Right.
all right.
Here.
What's
That's all
this
roo-
material?
That's all roof.
Which
Shingles,
is
asphalt shingles.
asphalt shingle. And do we need a sign?
They haven't brought the sign to us yet.
So basically, it's matching the color of the building that's here.
Mhm.
Which is here.
And this material?
Well, it's a combination. This is block that matches the golf building in the back. I had samples of the gray and the white, should have been with this. It was like actual masonry. They were submitted.
This is what we have.
And this material?
That's the same, it's boral, but it's a clapboard. Like a bevel siding. Again, this color.
Same color as?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you have one column,
Right. Right.
which is clad in
It's gonna be concrete. Just natural concrete.
just natural concrete.
And these are the colors for the sign, the blue and the white.
The sign, we need an application for. I don't have an application for the sign. So we can't approve that.
And lighting?
All the lighting is soffit lighting shining down.
Uh-huh.
There's no,
So this isn't lit?
no. Mm-mm. Just simple middle letters.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I had no problem.
So you wouldn't include that as part of the building, really, okay. Does Scott know
We need
that?
a separate,
Yeah.
I'm sure he knows,
Okay.
whether he thought about it or not, because he's trying to get this through. I can appreciate it, but we're gonna need an application for it. So we need measurements, and you can represent, these are the colors that the
Yes.
sign is gonna be, so
Right.
take that with you.
And the asphalt roof is gray, and it matches the
Yes.
other buildings?
Correct.
Okay. The only other part of the application process was the solar, which is on the south, and there is some on the north as well. You don't see this from anywhere, other than being on the facility. So, I don't think there's anything else on this.
So the solar panels that are on the application are for the tennis court?
It's on the tennis court on the south side of it, that's correct. So let's do this in two parts, to do a certificate of occupancy for this as well. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the building plan for the clubhouse as presented, except for the signage. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I'd like to make a motion to present this to the building department for the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. We have a second?
Second.
All in
Excuse
favor?
me, this is a certificate of occupancy for this
This,
building?
for the solar.
For the solar,
Thank you.
okay.
Yeah, okay. And we have a second,
Second.
and we're all in favor?
Aye.
You're done.
So the C of O
So
is
you can-
just for the solar?
Just for the solar. So you're gonna bring back an application for the sign, bring it back with the colors, dimensions. Okay, no lighting.
Right.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you want these or not? These?
Okay, let me just read it in the
Yes.
record so that it's clear, because you were right to pick up on that. Solar rooftop panels for the indoor tennis roof and bowling alley roof. Okay. Thank you.
Right, it's actually two buildings,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Mhm. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Put that together. Terrific. Okay. Ready? For Plaza Surf and Sports, tax map number 300-49-4-34.1. Join us. Tk you.
My name is Andy Cruz.
Spell your last name.
C-R-U-Z.
Great, and would you spell your last name?
T-A-D-R-O-S-S.
Great, wonderful. Betsy.
This is an application for Plaza Sports, which is, Plaza Surf and Sports, which is 716 Montauk Highway, where they're looking to do a renovation on the facade of the building by replacing the fascias and the soffits with cedar wood, resurfacing all concrete decks and platforms, replacing all handrails, stucco application over concrete walls in white, and paint over all black metal. What I'd like to do is just pass some pictures around if anyone who's not familiar with Plaza Sports. Are you? I'll give you some. I have enough because I took it from all different angles. And these are the buildings that bookend it to the east and to the west. So the proposal is for it to look like this.
Major improvement.
So we're losing all this type of paneling, this vertical paneling. I imagine that all the floor-to-ceiling windows stay the same?
That stays the same, yeah, it's
So you're not
basically
replacing any of the
static, like,
windows, it's all just,
That's actually peeling off the wall and stuff, so demolition is really inexpensive.
so all the doors and windows stay exactly the same?
Everything stays the same,
Lighting?
yeah. The same. I mean, perhaps we're just gonna change the actual fixture, but everything is gonna stay
And
where it
they're
is.
all underneath the
They're underneath the
overhang?
sides, correct.
You're adding
Some
a
of them are
pergola?
working, some of them are not, so. Excuse me.
You're adding a pergola?
That's there. It's like
There should be one in one of the pictures.
yeah.
I took a picture of that, you might have it, I don't have it here.
So we're just gonna take the canvas out and put wood on top, yeah. So make it look more beachy, more nice.
You know, at first I was,
And what about the sign?
well, they're not, that's not part of the application at this point.
Are you,
We're just gonna reuse it.
okay?
Just peel it off, put it back on, yeah. Perhaps we just paint it, you know, like if it has white
If you
or-
change anything, you need to come in before us in
Yeah.
order to.
If you peel it off,
If you-
it's an application. You need to come back to us, because I believe that that sign is oversized.
I think you should rethink the sign, only because it's blue and you're having a whole new color scheme.
Right.
I mean, you're making this such a modern, newer look.
We should think about
This
it.
is, think about redoing
And
the
it's
sign.
20 square feet.
20
allowed.
square feet, that's what we are allowed to,
Okay.
okay.
So initially, I was afraid that because of all the windows and the whiteness of it, that it would look like this big white elephant. And then in viewing it and noticing that the bookending stores are in the same type of tonality, I think it's fine. And I think it would be a nice project, cleaning
And
it
an
up.
improvement.
Yes, an
Certainly.
improvement, that's what I meant to
Wanna
say.
make a
For the
motion?
building and for the town.
Yes, so I'm going to make a motion that we are going to approve the renovation to Plaza Surf and Sports as presented.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Wait. I mean, do we have samples of the colors and materials that they're,
Well, let's see if they say it on the application.
It's basically cedar wood, clear cedar wood.
and is it going to be stained, or?
It's gonna stay, it's just a sealant. It's
So
just,
it'd
so
be
it's gonna
natural.
preserve natural, yeah.
On the application, it says replacing fascias and soffits with cedar wood.
I
And
think you
then-
need to be more specific
Okay, so what would you?
than that. I
Okay.
mean,
Do you want
and
do you want a
this
sample
looks
submitted?
wonderful. If you leave the cedar alone, all right, in 2 years in that climate, it's not going to look like this.
We understand that, yeah. So
Right.
that's why we're applying a clear sealant so it doesn't change the
Right.
color.
Would you
And-
like a sample submitted for the file of the cedar?
Well, I think you need to be a bit more specific, you know, that, you know, the size, right, the sealant type, because if not, I'm not going to, let's see, proposed 1-inch by 6-inch clear cedar boards with 1/2-inch spacing attached to wood battens, painted black, windscreen Danish.
What is painted black?
It says,
The only painted black parts are the what's black right now, the metal around the windows and doors.
Window trim.
See, nothing's been changed.
Attached to wood battens, painted black.
right behind there, because of the
Right.
rain screen, you don't wanna see the wood behind the, so you just spray paint black
And
behind the
there's
boards.
spacing between? Okay,
That's half-inch spacing.
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
okay.
Good to
Well,
go.
let me just ask you this, the handrails, are those exactly the detail what the handrails are gonna look like?
Yeah.
That are on the plans? So
That
that
was
was my
exactly it.
proposal, that I was accepting the application as presented.
Okay.
Okay, we
I
have a
think
second,
there's
we have
enough
voted on it,
information.
we're good.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if everybody
So,
can send
so
that.
if I decide to change the sign, we'll come back to you guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, great,
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your time. Good night, Nick.
Good luck. Do you have pictures, or do I have them all back?
Okay. Okay. For Blue Hills Fuels, care of Kevin Ream Bowler Engineering, tax map number 300-172-6-4. Good evening.
My name is Bill Tyree, not Kevin Ream.
Would you spell your last name, sir?
Tyree.
Great, wonderful. Diane?
Yes, this application is to install an emergency generator with an underground propane tank, which has been installed. And they have received conditional site plan approval, but the planning department has requested we provide a stockade fence around the dumpster and the generator. Now, this is a very, this is behind the mobile station on the most prominent corner in entering Amagansett. And what is there now is a stockade fence. I'm sorry, the picture is so small. And what is, the power generator is only represented right now by a slab of concrete.
Yes.
I just want to stop you for a split second. In reading the application, it is not for the generator. The application is for the
Exactly,
stockade
it's for a
fence.
stockade fence around the dumpster and the generator.
Right, that's
Which
within our
I
purview.
think will blend in perfectly with the back fence of the mobile station and will look just as industrial as
And the height of it?
everything else.
6 feet on the generator and 5.5 feet on the trash enclosure.
Got it. Okay.
Why don't you make them both?
Yes,
the
I
same?
make a motion that we approve this application as presented.
We have a
Why don't
second?
why don't you make them both the same?
It was just engineered that way, so I can make them 6 feet if you like, and just happen
Well,
to
it would
notice it.
seem, are they next to each
No,
other?
no, no,
No,
they're on,
no,
they're on
spread out.
other sides of the
Yeah, but-
facility. So one's on the west side and one's on the east side. I can make them 6 feet, no problem. It's
Do a
pretty-
little scalloped on it too, so at least
Okay.
it's presentable. Make it look nice.
And the
Okay.
stockade is just standard
Standard
stockade?
Yeah, it's pretty
Like-
interesting. It's pretty interesting because the generators were installed for free by FEMA. I put them in 127 gas stations as part of the Hurricane Sandy, so the Amagansett location was gifted this. So it's been,
And this will blend in with the stockade fence in the back there too,
Yeah,
so
fine.
that'll be
Yeah,
good.
I agree.
So you have a motion on it?
Yes, I make a motion to approve this application as presented.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much.
thanks so much.
To catch up, we're gonna skip the next one because Betsy's not here right now. Whoops, we've got two on Betsy's, okay. We're gonna skip over to an extension of time for John Whitmore, tax map number 300-185-1-19. Anybody here for the applicant? Diane?
Okay, this is for a house. This is for an extension of time on this house that is being built on 114, right next to the Whitmore Nursery. And it is being built for, or by, and with Mariah Whitmore, the daughter, who runs, when I went to the address, I realized it was Mariah's house. So I talked to Mariah, and she said they needed an extension of time because they're not ready. And we have also a C of O request here, but she said they're not ready for a C of O. All they want now is an extension of time.
Great, okay, so would you like to grant that?
Oh, yes, I make a motion that we extend the building permit or
No, just as an extension of time,
an
that's all.
extension of time. I
Right.
make a
Do we have a
motion that
second?
we.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, I'll let you catch up with the paperwork first. We'll get to you. I'm going to go back to Born-Free Outdoor Shower, tax map number 300-50-2-4 and 7.1.
Isn't there one before that?
Yeah, no, that was Born-Free Outdoor Shower is the next one.
Well, if it was Cell Pros, we did that in the beginning. Is that on there?
No.
It's on
Okay.
Hi.
Introduce
Lori
yourself,
Wiltshire.
please.
You've already seen this. We came to you preliminarily.
Introduce yourself.
Sorry, Lori Wiltshire,
Thank
Land
you
Planning
very much.
Services.
Betsy will talk about it. That's great.
Hi.
This is before us. The planning board has a site plan approval, am I correct?
Correct.
That this is for Born Free, which is 115, 119 South Emerson Avenue on Montauk, which is on the sort of motel row that faces the beach. And this is on the west side of the road, and there's units on this side and this side, and there's this small little section in here, and they're suggesting to put an outdoor shower. Let me pull out the survey so you can see it on the survey. Which would be on the eastern side of that building, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, western side of the eastern building.
Wait, where's, oh,
My left or your left?
So,
well, this is the east.
right, so
So it's
it's on the
here.
western side of the eastern building.
Okay, right, exactly. So what I meant was that it was on the east side of this little area.
Right, got it.
Thank you.
East side of the vacant area. Where the shower's going.
No, west side of the vacant area.
This
No, east
is,
side. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
this is the drawings of what they're proposing. Is it a one-person shower, or is it?
It's a one-person shower with a changing area.
Okay.
So it's 5 feet, and here's your shower, and there's your changing area. It's gonna match the color of the existing buildings. And we did submit some details for you. Some photos. Oh, that's why. It looks like that.
Yeah, I showed them.
Yeah.
They have.
Okay?
I have no problem with this at all.
Any lighting?
No lighting.
Make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the outdoor shower at Born Free.
Do we have a second?
Terrific.
Okay, all in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not leaving. I'm making room.
Is there, just out of curiosity, it goes into the drainage?
There is a dry well.
There's a dry well?
Correct.
Okay, and that's what this is indicating. Drain connected to dry well. Got it.
Which is shown right, whoops, wrong survey. It's shown on the survey as well.
You know, before I pass this stuff around, if you didn't see it or figure it out, let me know. Just see if you're looking.
Right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great.
Moving right along. For Atlantic Bluff Club Limited, tax map number 300-71-2-12.4. Joining Laurie is,
Charles Ferrazza, architect and project.
would you spell your last name?
S like in Sam, F like in Frank, E-R-R-A-Z-Z as in zebra. S-F-E-R-R-A-Z-Z-A.
Come on up. Just bring another chair. You have to speak, you have to tell them who you are.
And you are?
I'm Tom Gaeta,
Spell your last name.
Gaita.
Great. That's it.
Okay, so this is an application before us for the Atlantic Bluff Club, which is on 707 Old Montauk Highway, across the street from the ocean. And it is a series of buildings that I believe are condos. And they're looking to renovate the facades. So this is what one of the buildings looks like now that faces the pool. How many buildings are there actually? Right. You don't see the buildings from the road. There's a hedgerow, correct? So even the
Yes.
ones that face the property, that face the highway, you don't really see them.
Yeah, they're
So there's a series of three. And this is, and I'm gonna let you go through this all, but just to give everybody, Edwin, an idea, this is what they're proposing to do. And on the application, it states, replacing side trim, decking, stairs, railings, doors, windows, vertical screens around the front stairs. And I'll hand it over to you.
Well, actually, we have one copy of this, and basically this will represent the vertical screens that are on the end buildings that are closer to the highway. Currently, there is lattice there with vines growing up it. So we're proposing to change the lattice out for this vertical screen, to offer a little bit of privacy to the residents and the staircases, as well as at the right angle, have a
What
view
is the
back out.
screening made of?
It's made out of the same mahogany that the decking's made out of,
Uh-huh.
so it'll weather naturally gray.
And now you're showing it grayed already.
Correct, correct. And then you'll see in the close-up image also the asphalt shingle roofs that we'll be replacing, and that'll also be in the gray color, which is right there in the middle.
Can you give us the name of that asphalt gray?
It is oyster gray.
Which product? Timberline?
JF?
Timberline Oyster Gray.
Yes. The doors are basically just a slab door. There's no detail to them at all. The current
I
doors
just
are.
didn't hear her mention that. Does your application say doors?
Yes, somebody added it.
Yes, okay,
Okay.
just wanna make sure that's.
Siding, trim, decking, stairs, railing, doors, windows. Something was crossed out, and then replace vertical screen around the front stairs.
Correct.
That's right.
And then the siding would be this new cedar siding. It's actually a synthetic material. It's PVC. The color is through and through, so it never has to be painted. Very durable, easy to clean, and it's very
NU cedar?
NU cedar, yes.
Is there a
And-
number on that also?
The color number?
It's white. It is the white.
It's called white?
Super white is their product.
Is that what they call it?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is very similar to, if you look at the pictures of the existing building, it matches the profile of almost exactly of what's currently there. So from the exterior, really won't change much.
And it's PVC.
It's PVC, yeah, so
All
it's
right, so
no worry about rot, not any worries about, maintenance. It's very simple to take care of.
And the screen is what color gray?
It's just mahogany
It's
that will
mahogany.
naturally gray.
Okay.
And in that packet also is a close-up of the decks and railings. That will be, all of the framing material that's visible will be clad in a white PVC. And then the railings will be a combination of cable rail, which you see on the next page, and also will be a vertical baluster made out of the same mahogany that will weather gray.
Very good.
The windows and doors will be replaced exactly with what they are now. There's Anderson windows in there currently. The same Anderson windows will be replaced just with a newer model. And the same thing with the doors. The exterior doors are just solid slab doors. They will be replaced in the same way.
Questions?
You know what I think would be really helpful to Adrian, and then also just for our edification when she goes to do the resolution, that all that we were just writing down, that maybe you do hand in a printed list of all the colors for each situation, or the materials.
Do you want us to do
Is
that right now?
that okay? No, we don't have to do it right now. You can hand it into the office.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Just
that's
something
easy.
typed up with, basically the roof is gonna be Timberline Oyster Gray, new cedar siding in super white. I think that would just be helpful, that instead of our, because
Okay.
it should have been on the application to some extent somewhere. So I think that would be helpful. Do you agree?
I like it.
No problem.
Does anybody have any questions? Because I'm ready to make a motion to approve it. Peter?
This is the only asphalt that you see,
Not necessarily. The rendering is of one of the buildings. There's 3 buildings.
right?
So each one of the buildings has asphalt roofing
Has
somewhere
that
on the
little-
building. Just a little strip that goes across the top, yes. A mansard roof.
Wouldn't it be nicer if that were,
Contiguous?
Wait, was that it wasn't gray?
well, that,
That
I
design,
mean, this looks like, all right,
that design option was offered to the board and it was rejected. So
oh, okay,
the members of the community did not want it.
okay,
Their board.
Yes,
their board,
our board, his board.
Board of Directors.
That's correct.
right? I mean,
Why?
Well, there actually are there's some other sections of it throughout the property. and
Right, like I said, the 3 buildings, multiple areas have the mansard
Right.
roofing on it.
but from this, it would almost look, to me at least, as a continuous complex. This one almost looks like it's not finished.
Do you
Why-
think that
why-
it would
why
help if
did-
it wasn't?
Why didn't they do this one? They did all the other ones.
If you look at, where's that photo of the existing? I'm sorry, if I could just grab that for a second. Yeah, so you can see it there. It's actually the beige roof.
Right.
So it's already existing and they chose
I know.
to keep it. My partner and I, Nick, have asked this
Well,
question.
let me ask you, since you brought that up, would it be a better idea to have a lighter gray roof, so it's a little bit more in keeping with the
Yeah.
tonality of the buildings and the railings?
If I can hold that sample up
I mean,
again,
that
you'll see
one
it is a
looked
little
very
bit lighter
dark.
than we're
Than
actually
what it
showing.
shows.
Yeah, if you look, it is. I'll show you again.
I mean, in contrast to the
You see
white,
it's-
it's
it is
almost
lighter.
going to
It's
look
almost like a
black.
pewter, where that's much darker in this.
No, I think that's actually quite dark.
It is
Yeah.
dark. This is brown.
I'm almost thinking,
Well, we can ask the client, I mean, see what they think.
I mean, again, you don't see it from the road and it's,
Yeah, I
You know.
mean, if you don't see it
I
from the road.
mean, I think the lighter would be more aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
I did see the larger sample of this, and it is quite silvery. It's not as gray as the wood will eventually turn. It's
Well,
more of a
The
metal
other is,
looking.
the existing is in the brown tone.
I know,
Okay. And your wood is gray,
correct.
so you'd like to keep that within the gray. So is that a consideration, or is that too silvery?
I think it's too silvery. They did have another sample of that, and I brought the one that was most representative towards the grayish family, where this one was much more silver. It almost looked like a slate roof.
I have no
Would be
problem
nice.
with it. Questions? All right.
So I'm gonna make a motion to approve the renovation on Atlantic Bluffs as presented, and we'll just get a
A list of
a
materials.
list of materials
We
and
have a second?
colors.
Terrific, thank you.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's a second copy for you as well.
Yep, great.
I can put that.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Come on, Peter,
They must have some traditional colonial attachment.
it's getting late. You wanna keep all those together?
Thank
Here you go.
For an extension of time for Joseph and Paola Eisler, tax map number 300-80-7-18. Anybody here for the applicant? Peter?
This is an extension of time for a gate and a fence on a piece of property which had come to us, all right, in August 18th of 2014. This is a view of the fence and the gate, which is over the property line, which is out, all right?
I'm sorry, was this approved in 2014?
No, which granted an extension.
It
of
was,
time.
no, this is it was against the road. We have suggested in the application that it be moved back
And
from the road.
they received an extension of time
And
at that
they've
time.
received an extension of time, it's 3 years, and
How high is it?
it's 6 foot high, and it's solid. And I am of the opinion if they haven't done anything in 3 years, not to grant them an extension of time.
The resolution calls that this will expire in 3 years from the date of issuance. If a certificate of occupancy has not been obtained in that time, a new application will be required, fees will need to be submitted. It has been declined. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And this was John Whitmore?
No.
No, Eisler.
They did what
Extension
John
of
Whitmore
time.
was.
We did that.
When I was downstairs?
Oh, yes.
Was that approved?
Yes. That was approved, this one is denied.
Was the Blue Hills approved?
Yes.
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 I thank you.
Okay, this is for an issuance of a certificate of occupancy for Damon Gorey, tax map number 300-91-2-21. I have been out to the property numerous times and they have complied, and I'd like to make a recommendation to the building department that we approve the certificate of occupancy. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
For Robert and Tammy Cunningham, tax map number 300-113-6-1 Edwin.
I don't have a survey, I'm not sure that the fencing was supposed to be, I find it.
You have a second?
You get a survey.
You have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Only because of the survey?
Yeah, I
Okay,
don't
not a
know
problem.
what the fence is. Says something about a single easement?
Not a problem. For Laurie Anderson, tax map number 300-103-6-11, Peter.
This was for approval for a previously existing gate. I've surveyed the property, I've surveyed the gate, and it is ready for, it complies with our approval. We should authorize the staff to contact the building department that this is ready for a certificate.
Very good. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's good. For Max Herrnstein, care of Douglas Moyer Architect, PC, tax map number 300-63-3-12, Peter.
This is for a previously approved gate. And the gate has been built as per what was previously approved.
Nice.
Nicely done. I'd like to make a recommendation that we have staff contact the building department that this is ready for CFO.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. For Frederick Vero, tax map number 300-156-1-60.18. This is for a gate. It has been built according to the resolution at 6 feet high. I've been out there. I would make a recommendation to staff to request the building department to issue a certificate of occupancy. We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Yes.
It was approved.
On Laurie Anderson on 435 Old Stone Highway. Did you both second it? I can't remember.
You
I
could-
think
you
we
could just
both.
second
They
it.
both did.
You could just,
Okay, I think
Go-
so
go
too,
with
so
that.
let's go with Diane.
Diane,
That little change of pace, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, this is Breeze. For Stephanie Forsberg, tax map number 300-185-1-2.7, Edwin.
I took a picture of the solar cells, they were installed, I recommend that staff, instruct staff to notify the building department this is ready for a CO.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Crystal Muse.
Coming up next.
Which are we taking first, the fence or the?
Hold it. Let me just read it into the record. Crystal Muse, tax map number 300-188-2-5. Your choice.
Let's do the fence first.
Got it.
Okay, I measured the fence, it's installed. I instruct staff to notify the building department that that aspect of the project is ready for a CO.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll take that.
Okay, the next part is a little more complicated.
The first one was the fence.
The fence, right.
Thank you, Peter.
The first one.
I got this out in the wind today, and it got messed up. To complicate matters a little bit, the building that's built is in the reverse of the plans.
How can?
Anyhow, that window is missing. Several things here. This is, the fan light is missing.
Is this one building or are there multiple buildings?
It's going to be multiple buildings, but this is the one that's built currently. And now I'm looking at, I'm looking at the north view, and this is missing. And they did 2 instead of 3 windows here.
So what we need is an updated set of elevations.
We can't issue a CO
No,
until
no.
they correct
That's
the,
correct, yeah.
submit as-built
As built,
drawings.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the other thing that was interesting on the, I guess it's this side here. It's confusing, I can't see.
don't
We
worry.
have a note on that.
Well, it shows,
Just missing.
yeah, it shows a,
You have a note up there.
oh
too.
yeah, there's another window here.
Okay. All right, so as-built elevations
Yeah, yeah.
need to be submitted, and
They'll have to do it again.
we'll consider it.
Or
Right.
just
So we're going to table it.
Okay, I move that we table it.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. What are you here for? That's you out there?
Yeah. Want to do it?
We have
Want to do it?
2 more.
Okay, I don't have a tax map number. Come on up.
Well, all right, you want to jump to that, because there's John Whitmore.
John, this is some sort of a,
No, that's all.
Oh,
Wait, and then there's
It's
someone
off.
else on mine.
Sorry?
Ronald Urbach
Ronald,
is on mine.
But what happened to John
Where do you see
Whitmore?
that?
John Whitmore, they weren't requesting a C of O, only an extension of time.
I don't have that on me.
But they were not listed as an
No, yeah.
Yes, they were.
With the extension of time.
And we granted it.
This
Oh,
is
yeah, I'm sorry.
incorrect, this one. It
the
wasn't up for
one
sale.
that was assigned had him
So
on.
they were on here by mistake.
What did you say, Urbach is not supposed to be on it?
They
No, Urbach
submitted a
is.
CO,
And I think there's someone here for Urbach.
but they didn't mean to do that.
Okay.
Let's do her back.
That was,
I don't have her back.
You're the guy.
Neither did I.
Who did her back?
Your initials.
Well, here's the
Has
thing.
your initials.
Whose initials?
RPM.
I can clarify if you like.
Come on up.
Can I see what you're looking at?
This was the original one.
Yeah.
So there's-
I've got her back. It's not on my agenda. It's all right. It's not a problem.
Okay.
Well, I think you still can come.
Okay, doesn't need to. Relax. Okay, I'm going to read this into the record. It is not on my agenda. I did do the inspection on it. I have an agenda that's been abridged. But this is for Ronald Urbach's 31 Cedar Trails, tax map number 300-135-5-18. And I was at the property and I reviewed the gate, and it's around here somewhere. Okay. Why don't you come up? And please introduce yourself.
Good evening. Alexandra Halsey Storch from Toomey Latham.
Wait, just spell your last name for
HALSEY hyphen STORCH.
All right. This has been an ongoing project that I've worked on with the client and with Ren. And the original gate was 6 feet high, but it was about 6 inches off the grade itself. So they have corrected the grade, and they've gone to the expense of relaying the driveway to come up to grade so that this gate is at 6 feet, and so are the pillars. They left on the side some drainage, which is perfectly fine, and this is how it looks from the other side. So after all has been said and done, and the client has been very kind, I appreciate it. I'd like to recommend to staff that we instruct the building department to issue a certificate of occupancy. We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
It's been a labor of love on that one. Okay, and we have another one that's not on my agenda. So I just need the tax map number. Come on up.
Energy storage,
Yeah. You have it on yours?
tax map 300-185-2-2.
Betsy.
This is in front of us to approve the color that the building was painted that we approved originally. And there's roof and doors that are this color and it matches, and there is this color on the walls and it matches. So I make a motion that this is ready for a certificate of occupancy and to advise the staff to let the building department know.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I see. Okay, what was that? Is it on the agenda?
That was the battery storage building, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
There
left
was
off of
just,
my agenda.
yeah, there's a lot of different agendas because things are added on and,
Okay,
like I have 2 agendas. that I'm
resolutions,
working on.
there are 4.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, when there are changes to the agenda,
Okay, not now, we're on, we'll discuss it. Resolution for 4 Oaks Building Number 1, second floor apartment, 5 Kirk Avenue in Montauk, tax map number 300-5-5-7.
Is that it? Wasn't there 2?
That's it.
that's it?
What happened to the other one?
I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't know.
That was the one where, are we off?